ready to the countdown.
Hello.
Hello, guys. We are having some technical difficulties.
Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I see on my laptop, I see Jonas is trying to enter.
Yeah, I just saw the
I'm going to
go.
troubleshoot offline, and you guys go
Now-
ahead
now
and
we can hear
start
you.
the show.
I can
okay?
hear you, Spencer.
Okay, I see got like there it is.
There's the goat.
Yeah.
Oh, he made it. Happy to have you here with us.
What's going on?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I muted myself here. I'm trying to work it out. So
Oh,
I thought
okay.
I was happy to be here. Let's see here. This is USB microphone. Okay. Now I'm wearing my head things.
Okay.
Feel less
Good.
feedback, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're so cool.
We're still waiting for Spencer to come back. She's having some issues with her Audio.
My
Okay.
tablet just overheated because of the candles and kicked me off, so I had to wait until it cooled down to come back in.
Mm.
It's going to be one of them nights.
Mm-hmm. We had this when we were doing our makeup earlier.
Can you
too.
hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear
And we
you
have-
now.
and
We can hear you.
Yay!
My husband's arm back here, y'all. He's doing all the sound. Helping me with everything, y'all. Hang
Yay,
on.
hubby!
Mm.
And now that all of us are here, we have a special someone here.
Yes, we
Goat-like
do.
personality. Say hi, everyone.
Yay!
Thanks for joining us, Goat Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
How are you?
I love the picture, by the way.
Yeah.
Elsa Bates says hello from France. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Anthony Wilson. I'm sorry.
Hi, Anthony.
And I don't know what happened in the beginning, y'all. I think StreamYard was like lagging. So the introduction was kind of just all over the place. I do apologize for that. Go ahead. Linda James says she's going to reboot her phone and come back. Make sure you come back. And Linda Carmel says, hi, Molly.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Clearing up my bandwidth. Everybody's having some issues, tonight. Yay. So let's get started. I guess we can
So it's
go
not
ahead and
just
get
us.
started. I love everybody's background. PJ, show us your background. Like just lean over just a little bit. It says shunning kills. This banner. You'll see PJ talking about this banner in a clip we have later. It's been everywhere, you guys. And look at Molly's candles.
Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles just behind me, and I have a glass of wine.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Lester.
Hey, Lester.
Hey, Kiki from Mississippi. Anthony,
We have,
he's having issues too. Yeah, I don't. His router, huh?
Yeah.
Look
And
at
we have
Emma
in the
set up.
chain,
Emma set up. Everybody see Emma set up with the lights.
yeah.
Stunning
Emma's
cute.
background is so pretty, y'all. Just like she is.
Oh, thank you.
And I have natural light.
Natural light. Yes, natural
That's always
light.
good.
That's always good. And I have a green screen with candles, y'all. Y'all don't want to see me with a bunch of candles. Y'all don't want to see a
That's
fire
okay.
tonight.
Do you know
Y'all
what yours
really
reminds me of, Spence? You know when you're in a gig and everyone lights their lighter and the whole
don't.
crowd is
Yeah.
like,
Wait a minute.
that's
It
what yours
reminds me
looks
that.
like. Yeah.
I almost chose a picture like that. And I was like,
That's what yours
no.
looks like though. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. It looks like Amelia Rodriguez joined us.
Hi.
Sweet.
Hi.
All right. So we got everybody from Facebook and from YouTube today. Goat like. I'm new to the Jehovah's Witness community. I've heard of you. I've seen a few videos, maybe 1 or 2 videos. Can you go ahead and plug your channel right now?
Huh?
Don't you have
Repeat.
your YouTube channel?
What about it?
What about it? I love it. Number 1.
Okay.
I think I saw I think the last video I saw was it like a bunch of goats? Oh, here go Amelia right here, y'all. Hi, beautiful ladies.
Hi,
Amelia.
beautiful lady.
Hi,
You start yourself.
Yeah, Lester says the Jehovah's Witnesses are eating up all the bandwidth. We actually said that.
Yeah, I said that earlier. That's why my internet went down, I think.
It's like millions online right now. So you guys that are
I've just
joining us.
remembered when I met Jonas at the London protest and he had Stephen let jerky. But he had it the day before or the week before, and I never got to taste it. But I really wanted some Stephen let jerky just to find out what it tasted like.
Yeah. No one wanted it. I ate most of it myself. I gave some to the dog. The pasta dog.
Didn't you
Biggest
say the
dog.
dog turned his nose up at it?
Huh?
Didn't you say the dog turned his nose up at it? Wasn't impressed.
No, he liked it, of course.
Oh, he liked it.
It's just dried meat. Dried llama.
I've never tried
Yeah,
llama.
one of my rabbits is actually, I think, a goat in disguise. Like she just climbs up into the most stupid, most steep, most impossible places, and I'm just like, what? Why? How? And I'm convinced that she's a goat in disguise.
That's why you send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought it was because of the colors. Because I actually sent it to a Facebook group for goat farmers in Norway, and they liked the picture because it looked actually like a goat. The kind of
Oh.
goat I have, because I have a goat, a breed called Boer goat, like Boers in South Africa, and they are white with a brown head. And your rabbit was white with a brown head. I thought that's why you send it.
No, it's because of her behavior. Like, she was balancing on my knees, and then like she just crawls up everywhere, and it's like super cute. But I'm like, are you like a goat or something? Because she just climbs up to places when like only goats can. She's just like, she's a weirdo. I love her.
Yeah. Do you have any witness friends that are doing the memorial now, like that you know about?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, just just before going live with the makeup, my JW sister contacted me, asking me to go to the online memorial with them and asking me to speak to her either tomorrow or just later this week, which we all know is code for come, get reinductionated because we think the world is ending. And I'm like, I know that it comes from a good place in her heart because she loves me like a sister and all that, but I'm just like, wow, can we not do the whole reinductionation thing, because that's super uncomfortable.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, goat like.
My son invited me.
Oh wow! Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
So your channel is Goat Like Personality. I couldn't remember what the name of the channel was. So for all you newbies like me who are just checking out ex-Jehovah's Witness social media and channels, I think I watched a video the other day that was called something about Jehovah's Witness bullshit bingo. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh man,
For
you
every
cracked me
bullshit
up.
lie, you put bingo.
Yeah.
Oh
check
man.
that one out. I always like the funny videos, yeah.
Yeah, God like is hilarious. I love him.
Agreed.
Yeah. So Kelly, where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from my bedroom from Oregon, Baker City, Oregon. We are on lockdown.
I was just about to ask about how you dealing with the shutdown, the lockdown.
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I got laid off and I got right into the groove of getting busy with doing work outside for helping elderly. We have a Facebook. Oh, there you go. Sorry about that. Whoops. I think I might have dropped my phone. Hold on. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay. Hold on. So I just quickly got involved in. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. What? Oh no, that's not what I wanted. I'm trying to find you. Am I still here? No.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're still here.
Okay, hold on. I gotta shut my Facebook. I somehow got lost. But anyway, am I still on camera?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. So yeah, I got involved in the community, something that I always wanted to do. And my mom and I are just naturally big givers. And I always thought maybe it was really hard for my mom not to go out of the church to do that. But I just got right in and got on my local Facebook group. We're a small town. We only have 10,000 people and we're kind of isolated. So I just got in there like, who needs toilet paper? Who needs help? Got involved with the elderly. Our schools do lunches for the kids still. So they can pick up lunch, a sack lunch, and a bag breakfast for the next day. So I've got families that can't go out, and they're doing, and I just got involved. That was just, I go crazy if I just stayed home all day. So that's something that's different for me. For and I don't ever quote scripture, but whether it's a scripture or not, it does feel better to give than to receive. However you want to put that and not put it in a scripture phrase, it always is better when you can give of yourself. I think to me it's karma. It's good karma to do that, to help people. And we're so not about that.
There's a universal, I guess, I don't know what you call those. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something else. I mean, it escapes me at the moment, but yeah. I mean, the Bible offers, good advice is good advice. I mean, whether it's in the Bible or anywhere else. I mean, but a lot of those tropes or proverbs or proverbial sayings you see in the Bible, you can find in almost any other holy book, almost everywhere. Not just there.
Or just in any
general principle that you just not be a shitty person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's our town, they want to say that they have no viruses confirmed, but we live pretty close to different big cities like Idaho, and they're going there to test. They won't test here. So people are walking around like, oh, we're a small town. There's nothing here. There's no virus here. And it's like, people, no, they're just not getting tested.
Right.
So, and it's all, they want to keep those numbers like that. But it's a sense of false security for people.
Right.
To go walking around thinking they don't have a virus here. And there's no way. We have to
acknowledge that we have a full house tonight. We have Draven in the backstage. We have Chessa backstage. We have Sharon backstage. Let's get to some of these comments here. R.L. Wells. Oh, I know that name. Hey, Ramona. How are you? I haven't seen your YouTube. Y'all see that picture? Oh, that's pretty. I love that.
It's beautiful.
Lester says the White House is also live with COVID-19. You know what? Thank you, Lester. But I had to stop watching those because I get upset and I'm not throwing my phone or breaking any devices today. Sorry. I'll just catch the replay, like the highlights later.
Oh, I was gonna say it's not like you don't know we'll hear about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, Kelly. We are. You can hang out backstage with us. There's a private chat, so you don't have to leave just yet. We have Chessa. Hi, Chessa.
Hey, I was going to tell you guys to take your time because I'm still setting up, but
okay.
If you had people you wanted to bring in, yeah, I'm still setting up. I got like a really big setup. It won't fit in the camera, but I got yeah.
Okay, well, we'll check back in on you, okay? Will you just hang out backstage then?
Sounds good. Hello, everybody.
All
See
right.
you soon.
Hello.
Bye, Christina.
Hey, Draven.
Hey, Draven.
Draven.
Good to see y'all. Good to hear you.
Again. Oh, yeah. Cheers.
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 Or cool.
Cheers.
How do you say
I know
cheers
that's
in Romanian?
You can say Noroc.
Noroc?
Yes.
Noroc.
Anyone want to attempt the Hungarian version?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Egészségedre.
Egészségedre.
Oh my.
Egészségedre.
Okay, I have an admission. Mine is not quite wine. I tried to go to the store earlier and I didn't get a chance to go. And then with the lockdown, and I'm really leery about going at certain times because around here it's super crowded. So I just felt like wine was not worth Corona. I just drink what I have at home.
Yeah,
Just a question.
I needed to go out to go shopping anyway, so I bought some wine as well. And this is the first time ever they didn't ID me. So I'm like, I'm finally reaching that point when my resting bitch face looks like an adult. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Let's see let's check these comments. In the comments. Somebody says hi, Draven.
Hi.
And
He's like, hey.
Hey. We have Linda James saying love me some godlike personality. Don't we all love us some godlike personality?
How can you not?
How can you not? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I like the bullshit bingo, and I think he did another one. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the title of it, but I just remember what was in it.
The most popular video ever made was the one with overlapping generations explained.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have to check that out.
Yeah.
I have to check that out. I think I was thinking about I think it was a video you was talking about the JWs like in quarantine or something like that, or I don't remember.
Yeah,
that happy quarantine or something. Maybe something like that. Anyway, I'm catching up on YouTube media. As a matter of fact, we are planning to on our platform to have smaller YouTubers, extra Jehovah's Witness YouTubers, because a lot of times, they have exceptionally good content, but don't get a lot of shine and don't get a lot of credit for their work. So I'm really excited about doing that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of small channels, especially like there's a reason why I'm talking English on my channel is because if I would speak Norwegian, people would complain about my Swedish accent, and if I would speak Swedish, they would complain about my Norwegian accent. And that's one thing. It's basically the same language. It's like the difference between Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish. It's like British English and Jamaican English, So it's basically the same language. I can speak both, but I always have an accent. But anyway, the thing is, imagine if you imagine you're doing really, really, really good videos in Norwegian. Like the best Norwegian channel, they have 24 subscribers.
Wow.
So if you think it's a really small niche to be ex-cult in a country like Norway, because there's only 10,000 witnesses that speak Norwegian. And then the amount of ex-witnesses are, probably the same, but the amounts that actually go to watch channels, it's ridiculously low.
Yeah.
You make up for the numbers, though. Definitely make up for the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I am contemplating on making Hungarian language videos on my YouTube channel. It's a shameless plug, y'all. I'm sorry. We all gotta eat. Just kidding.
You should do it.
I have a full-time job, so I don't rely on my activism to feed me, but I'm joking. So anyway, I'm thinking about it. I'm contemplating, but then again, I'm like, who will watch it? Will anyone watch it? Like that? I don't know of any actually WOs in Hungary. Either they keep it a real good secret, or they just.
We have a saying over here in America. This was a long time ago. PJ, you might catch this. Remember, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
So if you go ahead and just step out, do your thing, girl. And plus you got tons and tons of personality. I don't see nobody not turning you off. I would watch you, Molly.
Oh, thank you. I am actually planning on doing the same videos in English and Hungarian, so that both audiences and crowds can be stated, because one of my and I know it's a petty nitpick to have, but I'm a queer woman and I'm a queer young woman, and I just simply don't see queer young 80s doing activism, and not just against the Watchtower, because I'm not hyper focused on them. I mean, yes, they are wicked and their doctrine is super harmful, super damaging, but I'm not gonna harp in on them and only focus on them, because they are far from being the only ones. And so I'm trying to do activism like Jonas did with All Religions Must, because all religions must protect kids and everyone. All religions must protect people from abuse, and
right. I kind of feel the same way. That I'm expanding my channel outside of just extra Jehovah's Witness centric things. I'm not extra Jehovah's centric anymore. Like I've changed. I mean, my focus has changed. So I'm not solely, I mean, I do, it is the main thing that I do, you know, I'm concerned with, but it's not the only thing. You know, all religions, you know, or some can be more dangerous than others. And I do think, you know, you can be.
It's funny to see how you.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny to see how you change. You know, when you were a witness, it was like, no, it's not a cross, it was a stake, and blah, blah, blah. All the minor details is really important. And then you leave, you describe yourself as an ex-witness, but then you realize, no, it's just ex-cult. And not so long ago, I was speaking to someone, and I referred to myself as ex-Mormon. Because it really doesn't matter. To me now, it doesn't matter if I was ex-witness or ex-Mormon. Obviously, I've never been a Mormon. But in a conversation, I referred to myself as ex-Mormon.
But that's why I teamed up with the Protect Every Child, and I know you did as well, Jonas.
Huh?
Like the Protect Every Child.
Yeah.
I know you teamed up with that, and I did my bit in the UK because obviously you went to Utah, didn't you, for that? And I couldn't do that.
No, actually, it was several generous person offered to pay my trip, but you know, I was going, thanks to them, but I said no, thank you, because I was going to Melbourne. I couldn't go to Salt Lake City in October and Melbourne in November. You know, because even if people, well, Australia paid my own trip, but actually people offered to pay me to go. No, not pay me, but pay the trip to Salt Lake. But I can't go that way. But maybe I'll go this year instead.
I mean, it looked great. Like I did my bit in the UK. I went and stood next to a cart, and I put all the posters up, and I did that because I felt like I wanted to get involved in not just ex-JW stuff, because like Mormons have a lot in common with ex-JWs. Like ex-Mormons come into my group, so you can see the similarity between both. So it is good to get involved with others.
Yeah, Mormons are fun.
I
have checked up the time. I'd like to go to the Mormon church and just go and see.
I had a Mormon online, actually, that I am kind of friends with now, and he sent Mormons to my house, and it was an interesting 3 weeks. I'll just put it that way. It was an interesting ride. I will say that, you know, I guess as a pioneer, I guess I was trying to figure out similar things, like maybe they were pioneers, but they made me very clear that they were missionaries. And it was just interesting to see them like full blown, super into the Mormons as they were trying to explain to me that the Israelites were Americans first. And I'm thinking like, okay, this is like totally devoid from any type of history. It's almost kind of like breaking down the same, you know, barriers, the same type of doctrines and teachings and of the J-dubs, to be honest. So anyway, we have Sharon joining us on the stream here at Draven. You're going to hang out backstage? Just
cool,
don't touch anything and I'll just bring you back in.
Just don't hang up.
Okay.
Actually, we have someone in the audience, Mark McCartney, who was raised as a JW, and once he woke up from being a JW, he actually ended up becoming a Mormon in the UK, and now he's here. He's hanging out in the audience. I'm not sure if he will come on the stream or not. He did say that he would prefer to comment because he's camera shy. So.
Hey Sharon, yeah, he says I was raised Jehovah's Witness and became a Mormon at 18. How messed up was that? Hey, it's a journey for all of us. For sure. I think when I first left, I went immediately to a cult like Hebrew roots type thing. So it's a journey. We find things, I guess, that's similar to what we left.
My brother,
without knowing it.
One of my brothers left JWs and then became a Mormon, and then a Methodist, and then a Jesus only freak, and then it was another cult, like 2x2s, and then Methodist, and then Mormon, and then now he's just a Methodist.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a journey.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to get baptized as a Mormon? I thought I would be that just for fun, so I can expend my apostasy.
I don't know, actually.
I don't think it's that difficult. They baptized a lot of people, like the Mormon missionaries. And the reason why the missionaries
for 2 years as well, don't they?
Yeah, the guys go out for 2 years, and it's basically mandatory to go for the guys, and then the sisters go for 1.5 years.
Right.
And if you look at them, because I know a little about knocking doors, so Jehovah's Witnesses, brothers and sisters, we go together, so we kind of do it the same way. We have the same presentation, the same way of doing it. But the Mormons, they go separately, and that means they have different. This is just my own observation from Trondheim, and they have to do long hours, like 12 hours a day. But it's easy; they're away from their families. Yeah, but it's not like our field service where we actually do something. You're away from your family and you have nothing else to do. So, and if you see the guys, they basically walk around in circles for 12 hours.
Yeah, and they are also not allowed to contact their family while they are on mission. That's what it's called. And actually, a great ex-Mormon activist is shameless plug, y'all, because I'm like in love with him, Mr. Atheist. He's amazing. He's an ex-Mormon, and now he's throwing punches at everyone, y'all. Everyone who comes for queer people, everyone who comes and threatens women's rights. He's out there. I love me some Mr. Atheist.
When we had some Mormons knock on my door, I was years ago playing the metal band Cold, and they recognised the group, and I was like, "You're Mormons, you're not allowed to listen to metal." And it's like, "No, just for the 2 years. After this, we can go back to listening to metal." And I was like, "Okay." That shocked me. And then there was like, "So would you like us to do anything? Do you want us to come in?" And I was like, "You can come and do my washing up if you want." They was like, "Well, if you want." And I was like, "I was only joking," but they would literally like come in and do my washing up if I asked them.
Yeah, but they will do that. They'll do that. But what I was saying, that Mormons and the brother Mormons and the sister Mormons, they have different cultures developed, So if you see the boy Mormons, the guys, they just walk in circles. Many of them are not really motivated because it's like a ritual to go to manhood, So if you don't go on a mission, you will not get laid, basically. You won't get married. No Mormon sister will marry a Mormon guy that haven't been on a mission. While the women,
Wow.
So, but anyway, the women that go, it's not like expected for them to go. So if they do go, they are highly motivated. So you see, if you see the Mormon sisters on street witnessing, we would call it, they are highly efficient. I never seen such efficient people. You find like 1 out of 100 that are so efficient like Mormon sisters, while the Mormon boys, they are rubbish. They just walk in circles.
Can you hear us, Matthew?
Hey, Matthew.
Wow.
Hello, Matthew.
We probably, do you have some headphones or something like that? Okay. So I will let you hang out backstage while you get that together. Let's check in on Chester. You got your stuff up yet? I think you're on mute.
My candles keep falling over, but I'm working on it.
I think Emma had her candles almost overheated her tablet or something like that.
Yeah, because I had them because I haven't got my main light on. I had a plate of candles right by me, and I didn't realise it would overheat my tablet. So just as we were like hitting live, my tablet shut down because it overheated.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We have a full house tonight, you guys.
I know. That's completely full. Hi,
Hi.
How are you?
Can you hear us really good?
I'm so glad to be here.
We're so happy
We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, so I want to pay tribute to my aunt and one of my cousins. My aunt passed away years ago She was a witness for 39 years, and you know, she did a lot of good things. And at her funeral, Jehovah's Witness elder, he didn't really talk about her, and he spent a lot of time talking about Jehovah. And my aunt was so much more than that. I mean, she did a lot of good things for the community. She was well loved. And then her son, he died before I was born. I never really knew him, but they said he died because he didn't get a transfusion. So I want to honor them on this memorial, on the memorial. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing the story. It was so brave of you to share the story with us today.
Okay, see you later.
Bye. See you later.
Heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
It is, and actually, about the blood transfusions, my grandpa had like, I think it was just a common flu, but because he didn't go to the doctor, because he was an 85-year-old Hungarian man. And let me tell you something about old Hungarians. They will never, ever go to the pocket. Anyway, so he didn't go to the doctor, and he got sicker. So he got pneumonia, and his lungs got inflamed. And he ended up in the hospital because he fell and broke ribs. Because he was just so weak, he couldn't eat from the pain in his lungs. And he fell from weakness when he was going out to the bathroom. And he got up to the hospital in like September and received a blood transfusion in late October, I think, and died in early November. And when I heard that he needed a blood transfusion, for some fucking reason, my JW brain activated for a second and went like, oh my God, he needs blood. He can't have blood. He's gonna die. And that split second, let me tell y'all, it was fucking awful. Like that feeling of pure dread at having to see my grandfather die because he can't receive blood. Even though I have been out for like 8 to 9 years now, but still that flicker, that split second creeped up on me, and it was awful. It was just awful.
Yeah. You okay, Molly?
Sorry.
No, it's okay, babe.
I'm so sorry, Molly.
It's all right.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing, Molly. I know how hard that is for you.
It's a heavy night. I had a bunch of emotions. I
break out of
you guys. Yes. Thank you guys so much for joining in Memorial this year. I'm also grateful that Matt joined us. He was the director on the Oxygen, the Witnesses. So I'm super excited to have him here too. And that's proof that they really did take a personal interest in what's happening in our lives, because he really listens to the stuff that we go through as far as losing our family to blood transfusions, going through the abuse that we go through. So I really appreciate you, Matt. And yeah, it's a heavy night.
It's gonna be a heavy night.
I'm trying to figure out how to bring some levity to it, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Bring what?
We usually find you. Can you hear us, Matthew?
I can't hear him.
No, we can't hear you.
Oh my.
Go to your audio settings, and you can toggle your cam and your mic, and sometimes your microphone is just on a different setting.
Okay, so what you'll do is I'm gonna kick you out, and then you're gonna come back in, and then when you'll see the cam and mic settings, and just choose your settings there, because sometimes it doesn't. It's not okay. So Matthew, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, I want to.
AJ, where did you go?
Hey, I love the banner. That's awesome.
My computer just shut down for no reason.
Gosh.
There's something in the air tonight.
Oh no, Satan trying to shut down our stream, y'all.
Let me tell you guys, I needed to for the second time this month, I needed to completely reinstall my operation system on my computer because my rabbit somehow, like while I'm writing or while I have my laptop on the desk and I run to pee or something like that, and they will like straddle across the keyboard, and some way somehow they find ways to fuck the computer up, and it's like, oh my god.
Okay, guys,
Like
it's saying that the backstage is full. I'm getting the so it says that people are trying to enter, but it's full. Keep trying. We're kind of shuffling around here. So
Yeah.
Also, we're gonna be live for a while. I mean, you guys were planning on going for at least a bit, and then I'm gonna be going on at 7 Central my time. So, you know, we're gonna be on for a while. Keep trying, but I didn't expect us to have that many people trying to jump on. That's
Swap
awesome.
me out for a bit if you want. I don't mind.
Okay, I think that's Matthew. Tessa, go light. We're gonna have you in the background for just a second so we can test Matthew. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna remove you, and here we go. Let's see. Did it
Hi.
work? Yay!
Oh, I exist. All right. Hi. Thanks for having me. It's great. It's nice to meet everybody.
It's nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on. We had don't worry, we had a little trouble today with our headphones and stuff like that. So just one of those days.
Honestly, I so appreciate what you did with the documentary. It's amazing, and actually, once the media is not all consumed by COVID-19, I plan to contact my local media and try to get something similar going in my country, Hungary, because our country, we're far behind in child protective services and all that. Like, what's that fancy Western shit? Like, basically, our laws are so messed up. We're like, oh, okay, well, are your injuries within? Hey, stop eating my laptop. Sorry, rabbits. So in my country, the law is that it doesn't constitute abuse worthy of prison time if you heal within 8 days in a hospital. Once it takes more than 8 days for you to heal in the hospital, then they may go to prison.
It looks like Sharon just jumped back on here. Sharon, can you hear us? I don't know if you can hear us yet. I'm gonna swap you out, Molly, if you don't mind. Hang on one second. Hello, Sharon.
Hey.
It's like musical chairs. It's great.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like we're moving around the screen here.
So, Matt, I was curious while we have you on really quick, what was the public reception to the witnesses? Because I know us ex-JWs loved it. We were blown away. A lot of us cried, and but it was good. But I was wondering what the reception was from the public who don't really have a connection to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, well, from what we know, it rated very well on Oxygen on the network. What they do is they compare the ratings from that night to the same night over the previous 52 weeks, and the show gave a real bump to the network. So a lot of people tuned in, and of course we don't know how many of those are ex-JWs. Oh, thank you, Lester. But we like to think that it was a wide group, and that they were able to promote it to their normal Oxygen audience, and it brought in a lot of the normal Oxygen audience. And I think it was a real shift for them to do something like this in the true crime space. But I think it resonated for a lot of people, and I have to say, knock on wood, we really didn't get any negative feedback, just from what we've seen on social media, from the comments we've seen, very little criticism. And we got a nice little plug in the New York Times. So we're pretty happy. I mean, you always want more. I hope that we submit it for awards, maybe an Emmy or something, because I think it's a great show, and I'm super proud of it and all the work that everyone put into it, especially you, Chessa, and everyone who came forward to tell their stories, because we wouldn't have had a show without that. that level of cooperation. So
Well, I'm grateful for you giving us as a community a voice, because a lot of us suffer in silence, and that's part of what this night is about. There's a lot of names on the list, as you know, that are suicide or that are from substance abuse and things like that, and that's because people don't feel like they have the ability to get the message across to the public of what we're actually going through, or to feel validated for that. So thank you so much for bringing that to us. That's huge. And I know we were talking in New York when we were filming, and you were talking about how you hadn't anticipated how it would affect you before you started on the project. How do you think it affected you, like just hearing stories of Jehovah's Witnesses while you're filming through this? Did you have any sort of takeaway or anything?
I think that, I think there are I think it's easy for people in the general public who haven't been close to anyone who's been involved with a religion like this or a cult. I think it's really easy for people to kind of write off the experience and say, oh, well, that would never happen to me. And, I'm not gullible enough to become part of an organization like that. Those people there's something wrong with them. And, I think, and this is why I love what I do. I get to go much deeper than any preconceived notion and humanize the story and really come to understand it on a more profound personal level. And everyone I met in the community, in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, was highly intelligent, highly articulate, really self-aware, really self-possessed, and I'm including you, like amazing, bright people. And I just came away thinking, through no fault of their own, they got brought into this organization very often as children, right? They didn't have a choice in the matter. And I'm a parent. I have a 5-year-old. I could tell her pretty much anything, and so part of the criminality of an organization like this is what leaders and adults choose to say to people who are easily influenced, like children, in order to hold control over them, right? And I think that's one of the greatest crimes that's committed in a religion like this, and that people aren't left to make up their own minds about things and are frightened into submission. And so I think that was one of the things that I really came away with a lot of compassion for, people who had been through this experience, whether it's in this organization or a similar organization. And that's a hard thing to kind of balance against. Like, now I see witnesses in my own neighborhood who are out, pioneering, and they leave letters for me and things like that. And it's like, okay, well, how do I balance out the animosity I have towards this organization and how it's ruined people's lives with the fact that, with the compassion I want to have for my fellow human, that, hey, these people are probably a lot like the people I got to know doing the show. They're probably good-hearted people, and they believe in what they believe in for whatever reason. And I need to give them kind of the benefit of the doubt. It's hard to do, because I want to roll down my window and scream at them, that your organization supports child abusers. And I think that, watching you on Memorial a year ago in New York, you really set a great example. You're a great role model for how to do activism the right way, not to get up in people's faces, to be there, like the great leaders we admire now, like Gandhi and Martin Luther King. They knew what peaceful resistance looked like and felt like, and how hard it was. And I just thought that that's what you were doing a year ago, and it really impressed me, and so I guess what I need to do, now that we're talking about it, is I need to remember what you were doing a year ago every time I get those feelings of anger welling up about this organization, and try to practice what you were doing. Because if you could do that, gosh knows, like, I should be able to do that.
Well, I'm hoping that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
A couple days ago, actually not a couple days ago, it was probably a day ago, Oxygen re-featured some of for my women's group. I was looking for some articles. I don't know if you saw it, but they featured the Oxygen special again, and because they were featuring women who were standing up and speaking out, and they refeatured like the Oxygen special and a few other specials that they had out throughout the year. I thought it was kind of cool. And they featured Chessa and the other three women that were on the documentary. We thank you so much for all of the work that you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to admit that I didn't get all the way through the documentary, only because some parts were a little triggering for me. It may have been a little triggering for some others. I heard as well. And sometimes when those documentaries come out, you have to watch them in waves. They come out in waves, and we were just off another documentary. And so you have to kind of pace yourself, because all of these it's a lot.
It's the same for me. It's the same for me. I watch a lot of scripted things and a lot of funny things, because it's hard. It's hard to take it all in.
Like you were saying, like Chessa, there's so many of us that are out on the front line in activism. Wait a minute. I'm trying to talk to you guys, and I'm watching people jump in and out here. Everybody, nobody move. Nobody move. In activism, where I think we've talked about it amongst ourselves: aggressive activism versus activism using different forms of activism. We'll just put it that way to get our point across. And some people speak from a place of hurt because they're still hurt, about the organization. Then some of us have moved along in our journey. Everybody's at different points in their journey. And I think when we first come out, we know the Watchtower is bad and we just want to say something about it. And then sometimes, we're learning, as we paid a nod to the activists before us last week. We're learning as we go along, as generations come behind us, that there's a lot of things available to us that can help us work through some of that pain, like therapy. That's a huge one that can help us, make sure that we're not hurting people in the midst of our activism, or what I'm saying, even though we're trying to help, which sometimes can be the case. I mean, with anything, with activism, whether it's ex-Jehovah's Witness activism, you can be so emotionally involved that you can become, let me think of a word for it. I have a word for it, but I'm going to think on a different word. We'll say that for another kind of show. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Chess. I cut you off.
Oh, that's fine. Matthew, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Of course, yeah.
Right. I'm in a lot of JW groups for activist reasons. And now a lot of them, some of them did watch the Oxygen documentary. And it's been said to me many times that they were paid actors. How would you respond to JWs making that accusation? Because obviously it's ridiculous, but
that the women in the show are paid actors?
Yeah, they said that they were paid apostate actors.
I mean, I don't, if somebody's going to believe that, I don't know what you can say to persuade them otherwise. But we, in documentary filmmaking, we don't pay people. I mean, that's the longstanding tradition and ethical code is you don't pay people. You don't pay your sources, just like in journalism. So with a show like this, now, I mean, there are exceptions to that if you think about reality TV, and it's sort of like, we live in this era of fake news, right? Where people might want to call a legitimate story fake news if it serves their interests, and they may be wrong, but there is such a thing as fake news now. So it muddies the waters quite a bit, right? And I think that's happened a little bit with nonfiction television, where you do have some people who are paid talent who are on shows that may not look like documentaries per se, but are like reality shows, and some people have a hard time distinguishing between them. But in the case of our show, it's a documentary series, and the journalist we partnered with is with an organization that's of the highest caliber of journalism. The Reveal broadcasts that they do, and that organization is has a tremendous integrity, and they do very exhaustive fact checking. They made sure all the sources were legitimate, and they would never ever pay anybody. It was just not, the Center for Investigative Reporting. That's just not what they do. They'd sooner not have a story at all than pay someone. So I don't know if that helps, but
well, that helps that I can refer them back to that to clear it up. That we've said that. So
well, at least we have a clip.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, I was not paid to add on to it, so you have two people now.
Yeah.
I was not paid.
I know you've been trying to get on. Ina, can you hear me? You've been trying to get on this entire time. I just wanted to acknowledge that I see you, but you jump in and out before I can bring you in.
A microphone's on mute.
I think you're on mute. It's wonderful to see you. I can't wait to hear you.
Your microphone is on mute? Okay. Well, we'll let you work that out in the background, okay?
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
I've been curious, and a lot of the people who worked on the show have been curious about, with the people we've worked with in other XJWs in light of what's going on now with COVID-19. And, I've watched like Stephen Lett's speech about COVID-19, his address on jw.org, and I can only imagine what how the organization is spinning this pandemic. But what we learned from a lot of the people we worked with is that when you're brought up in this organization believing certain things about the end of the world, that even after you've left, physically and mentally, you can still be triggered by those ideas. And I was wondering how you all are experiencing this pandemic, and if there's a part of you that is ever questioning, like, oh well, could this be it? Were they right? Did I do the wrong thing getting out? I mean, I don't know.
I think for me, when this pandemic hit, I would have to say, even though I left in 2011, mentally, I still believed in the doctors. I still believed in the policies. I had questions, but I was still indoctrinated, so to speak, until about 2014. So I haven't been out like fully unindoctrinated, mentally that long. So I'm breaking chains and unraveling things every day. But when this pandemic hit, I started to get nightmares again about Armageddon. Last night, I woke up in a sweat. I like literally, truly thought that I was at the Kingdom Hall. And me being in a situation where I'm excommunicated, I'm shunned everywhere I go by my family. And now that they know I'm apostate, it's like truly just forget it. They're not talking to me. So I'm in an area where I run into Jehovah's Witnesses a lot. And a lot of them were, how can I say, they saw me in a position in the Jehovah's Witnesses where, I was used a lot, like on a platform and on assemblies and stuff like that. So to see me now, it's like they pity me, which is kind of weird. But I noticed that even our family, the Jehovah's Witness family, are revving up with you got to get back, and sending articles every day. I think what's freaking me out, what freaked me out more than anything, is the fact that they are freaking out so much bad. I didn't anticipate that because, I kind of always envision I guess this pandemic gives you all the visuals of everything you kind of imagine that Armageddon might be like, with the shortage of food. Now, I'm not gonna say this is a shortage of food, but people acting like it's a shortage of food and hoarding things and that sort of thing. So as they try to ramp up this the effects of the pandemic to support their end times doctrine,
Yeah.
If you're in activism, especially like I know like Emma and I, we talk to Jehovah's Witnesses a lot. So it's like you almost feel their panic sometimes, and I have to just pull back. I take frequent social media breaks now. I do a lot of self-care because before you know it, sometimes I'm anxious. If I'm just talking to a Jehovah's Witness and I can't even figure out why I'm just so anxious and I'm so on edge and I have so much anxiety, I have to realize that sometimes that even talking to them can be a little triggering. Not all of us, and then the thing about it, you talk to apostates who've been out for a long periods of time, and you can not be triggered by things for a long time, and this one thing just takes you right back there.
Yeah.
So that's me. What about you, PJ?
I was over here shaking my head the whole time. Yep.
Yep. Yep. That's what I said. Hey, PJ, because I saw you over there. I mean, it's just something that always sticks with you, and especially if you're somebody like me who was born in it. The only images I remember seeing is fireballs and those type of doomsday cultic type images from infancy, because they drill it into your parents to show you these images at a very, very, very young age. When they say infancy, they actually at one point define that as in the womb. Because I know my husband, who's now an ex-Jehovah's Witness, his mother literally would turn these tapes on, the tapes for the from the Watchtower, and just would play them over and over again all night long, all through the day. So it's like it's drilled in your head. It almost reminds you. I hate to compare it to this, but some of the communist places that play propaganda over and over and over and over and over and again.
My mom did that to me when I was little.
Oh.
She would play the My Book of Bible Stories while I was sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And and my experience with Armageddon was a little different because my dad was inactive. We had elders always coming to the house and saying, if you don't come back, you're going to get destroyed in front of your kids. Do you want them to see that? So we had nightmares.
Right. What about you, Molly?
Well, I have been out for this would be the 9th year when I hit my 24th birthday in October. So I detangled the chains that I had to the doctrine relatively fast, because I always say this in a dry semi-sarcastic way, that the most dangerous thing you can do to a Jehovah's Witness or any religious person for that matter is that you lock them in alone. And that's what my mother did to me, because she was worldly. So she did not believe in any god, and she did not want me to believe in any gods. And she found out that I was sneaking off to Jehovah's Witness meetings and conventions when I was 15. And what she did was she locked me in my room, and she only allowed me to go to school, basically. And when you get alone and when you get to read the materials alone, you start noticing the logical inconsistencies and all that. And basically that's what happened to me. I kind of sorted that through with therapy and with just in general engaging in conversation with people who were never witnesses. That's helped tremendously. And basically I have not interacted with anything related to Jehovah's Witnesses until 2 years ago, and I just got into activism last fall, because I realized that, well, first of all, I'm not alone, and second of all, if my about 200 witnesses that we have in this town that I live around have this much stuff to hide and stuff to to cover up and like placing elders in other congregations when their wives report that, yeah, he beat me until I had an abortion. So, like, obviously, any reasonable person would see how any man or any person who does such a thing would belong to jail. But what JWs did is they demoted him and placed him in another congregation. And that wasn't because he beat his wife until she had a miscarriage. That was because she caught him cheating. So it was not even for the abuse, it was for the lesser evil, it was for cheating. And so my anxiety is actually like bad because everyone is stressed, everyone is anxious, and seeing the shelves empty. I live in Hungary. Hungary doesn't really have like natural disasters, and because Europe is relatively safe, we're not war stricken, so food shortages and empty shelves are not something that I've experienced before, or I can't remember. From maybe the 90s had some food shortages or empty shelves, because that's when we had the systems change from communism, from the USSR to being a normal like free flow state. But just seeing that, and your entire like news feed and your entire everything, you turn on the TV, it's COVID-19, and well, I'm in activism, so I see what the JWs are posting about, and they are posting about the COVID-19, but they are turning it into a kind of morbid, sordid celebration, like, here's the great tribulation, and it's like, wow, so weird on your brain, because you understand them because you were there once, but then now you look at the people you love who have never been witnesses, and then you can't even see how you could ever feel like that. Like, yes, it's a pandemic, people are dying, and that's a good thing because it's gonna get much worse and people are gonna keep on dying, and that's a good thing because Jehovah is gonna bring down justice on the apostates and the
What
bad
about
people.
you, Emma? Emma, did you get triggered in any way by seeing the shelves empty or anything like? You've been out a lot longer than we have, though.
Yeah, I've been there 23 years, so I'm totally. I don't want to use the word deprogrammed, but I am totally deprogrammed. Like, so the only thing that worries me about this whole thing is if one of my family get it, like my dad, who's like 70 this year. Other than that, I'm not worried about it at all. I think I feel weird because I'm not panicking. I didn't panic buy. I'm not panicking about it, and I'm probably because I've just been out that long. I don't see the whole Armageddon and all this because I just think it's bollocks. We've been here before with so many things, and it's just like,
yeah. I think in my case it's like, I was a very zealous witness. Like, literally, I would be that one sister.
So was I. Yeah.
Like, I would be that one sister in the Kingdom Hall everyone would hate because I'm just such a fucking fundamentalist. Because like, and I learned to let go of that. Like, I learned to not try to be perfect all the time, because that's what I was as a witness. I was like the perfect little, never show knees, never show shoulders. Oh my God, is she wearing
Well, you
makeup?
showing shoulders today, honey.
I am.
What about you, Chessa? Have you been triggered by the pandemic at all?
Yes, for a variety of reasons. Part of the reason why is because I've had a lot of PMOs, which is people who are physically still in the organization, but they're mentally out, reach out to me, and they're in situations where either they're being baited per se to go to their family's house for the memorial or something like that. Maybe they lost their job and they need assistance, and their family is like, well, if you come back to Jehovah, or if you do this with me, then I will support you. So we have families right now. It can be an ex-Jehovah's Witness who left and they lost their job, don't have anywhere to go, and they reach their parents, and their parents say, sorry, not going to help you. And then we have other people who are still in that situation. There's people who are closeted, they're homosexual, but they have to live with that in a home right now, that they're quarantined. They can't feel any sort of, hey, Aaron, they don't have any sort of ability to breathe. So I've talked to a lot of people who are going through panic attacks from that. But even me, myself, yes, definitely. I just try to, I talked to somebody the other day who was really, really struggling, and I told them, even if this is Armageddon, let's say, hey, this is Armageddon, this is the end of the world, this is how it starts, it's slow, and then it, the organization that we were in would not be up to the standards of Jehovah or any other God because of the policies they have that abuse human rights, that allow children to be abused, that make it so that people have to resist medical treatment for their kids and choose not to give them a blood transfusion. So if this ever did happen, let's say the world did end, I don't feel like anybody who would ascribe to be a Jehovah's Witness just by name would be somebody that would be guaranteed safety. I think it's about what you do. And so many activists like you guys are doing the best you can to fight for children's rights, for human rights, to end shunning, to support your communities. Maybe you're in a group and you just encourage people. And that's the kind of stuff that makes you a good person. So even if you feel afraid right now, even if you feel a little shaky and unsure, try to ground yourself. We've had pandemics before. And then remember, you're doing the right thing. You are doing the right thing. And just because you're using your brain and you're thinking independently does not automatically mean that you are going to be lost. Probably the opposite.
Yeah, actually, the worst thing for me is sleep. Other than my stomach just not being able to act right. Like my anxiety has two things: is either I just can't get out of bed, or I'm bouncing off the walls, and it's so inconsistent. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it, and then just my stomach is a mess. Like no matter what I eat, drink, whatever, it's just like, okay, I give up on that. And it's worse ever since I'm in quarantine since like the beginning of February, because I was trying not to be an asshole. Like I was trying to avoid getting it and giving it to others, and I got sick late February. I think it was the COVID-19, because it lasted far longer than I usually do with colds or flu. But if it was, I hope it was, because then at least it means that it's behind me. And if it wasn't, then I'm still staying home. And well, as much as I don't really go out because of my like social anxiety, and it's also a remnant of the JW indoctrination, that you feel like very weird around people, because you like JWs have this like tango of acting like they are the most open, honest, and transparent people on the world who share everything, but in reality they bottle everything up, and you don't really know them. Like even though you speak every day, and even though they share like such profound things with you, they are not real, they are not genuine, and it's all fake and smoke and mirrors. And it's still bad to be locked up and not being able to go out and get stuff sorted. So use social media for good.
I'm
Reach out.
talking. I'm on mute. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Melly, but we do have Sharon on the background. I know you wanted to ask the panel here, so I'm going to bring Sharon on, and she has two guests that finally made it here. Yay. Shannon Rowland and Ian Irby. So we're going to do some musical chairs here in a moment, because I don't want to lose anybody. Give me 1 second here. Oh gosh, give me a second here. All right, and then that'll move us to our next segment. So, Sharon, Matthew asked us whether or not we've been triggered by the events that's been happening with the COVID-19 and the corona. I know you have a unique experience since you're in healthcare.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, yeah.
I would, I have post-traumatic stress disorder like the rest of us pretty much. And I would say that being in healthcare, you have that you feel that responsibility to continue to take care of people because you love them. And yet you come home and, I'm newly married, and so, my husband and I spend time together, and then of course there's always hopping on the internet and responding to people. And there's a lot of people that are struggling financially, and I've been blessed with a job. I've been able to help a few people, and so I really count on that job, because even like my job doesn't end at taking care of people and feeling the anxiety that when I go in and out of a home, am I contracting COVID-19? Am I going to pass it on to someone else? So it requires a lot of forethought, always thinking ahead, always using PPE and washing your hands all the time and sterilizing everything. So I've noticed an increase in bad dreams. So, like I woke up, I think it was this morning or last morning, and I had a dream about both of my parents who are gone now, and they were both in the nursing home. I just lost my dad in December. So, it's like all that anxiety you feel, and then you're taking on other people's anxiety online. It does pile up. So it requires taking care of ourselves. I know Chessa talks a lot about that. Grounding ourselves, and yeah, so that's how it's affected me. Not to be morbid, but yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I'm on pug duty, y'all. Give me a second. I have a pug, y'all.
Do you all feel like are you having the experience from the people who who are still in the organization that there is anyone happy about this, or that this is a sign of Armageddon and it's coming? I mean, somebody mentioned that there was a lot of people seemed really anxious. Some of the witnesses, but
somebody mentioned that there was a lot of.
Do you feel like are Kingdom Hall still having meetings? Are people getting ready?
Oh yeah,
for Paradise Earth.
Well, see, they already had go bags, so they were just waiting for something big to happen so they could just get excited about. But Emma, I would say, I keep saying Emma and I because I see Emma a lot in a lot of the the groups that we're in. I actually run a group with Jehovah's Witnesses. We're out reaching about 5,000 now, and just seeing their posts, they seem excited. I heard and since that video where Tony is saying, "Oh, we've been waiting for this," like that's their attitude. I had the leaders display something else. Go ahead, Emma, because your experiences, how it is.
Yeah, it's like they are excited about it, and even to the point where they're that, I'll say, daft, to put it lightly. I've had them say that they're not going to catch it because Jehovah's going to protect them.
Yeah.
And I've been like, are you serious? You're talking about a disease here. Yeah. No one who follows Jehovah is going to catch corona. I'm like, right, okay.
Well, I remember back even when the wars were starting in Iraq. I mean, we were going all through Daniel and thinking, this is it, this is it. I mean, I don't know how many times, because I'm 53 years old and I was born in it. So I've seen this a number of times. None of my Jehovah's Witness family speaks to me, so I can't speak for them. But I would assume that, after my father has waited 53 years, he thinks he's finally going to get his time.
It's crazy.
I'm sorry, I wasn't
Wow.
able to hear that any of that.
Oh, is there some reason I'm not?
I can hear
I'm not.
you.
You can?
I can hear you.
I could hear you.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, Matthew, get your ears on right.
I see Spencer is muted. Maybe that had an effect on something.
Ina's muted, but she said she heard me.
The internet's been playing up all night. I had to reboot earlier because my internet went down. I think probably because here in the UK, the JWs went on to the memorial an hour before we came online. So they probably all bombarded the internet.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So I guess they are having to watch it from their homes or small, like their book study groups, or do they even have those anymore?
A lot of using a Zoom app to do like get together meetings like online. So I think they must have all gone on at 7:30 in the UK and just bombarded like the whole internet. So
Yeah. I can't hear Sharon. You're muted.
Sharon, you're muted.
She
There you are.
She actually, oh, there she is. Never mind. I won't tell on her.
I made it back in time. All right. Well, Matthew, we have someone maybe waiting backstage. We thank you so much for joining us. They're coming on and talking to us. Please do it again. Please, can we have
I
you?
would be happy to. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we're going to hold you to it.
Thank you for the
All right.
documentary. The
My
documentary
pleasure.
was amazing.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for that. Yeah.
It was really my honor. Thank you. And yeah, be well. Stay safe, everybody.
You too.
Bye.
All right. We're again playing the musical chairs here. Give me a second here. There you go, PJ. PJ's back. Well, Sharon, and since you're back, we have Shannon and Ina Irving on. We got a chance to talk a little earlier, but to kick off, because we're like an hour and a half into our live here. We have some pictures, some clips, and some things to show you in the next going on in the next half, and we had a guest come on earlier to speak about her family member who was a victim of the Watchtower's policies, and Shannon and Ina and Sharon, and well, all of us know that intimately, but we were discussing that earlier, right, Sharon?
Yes.
So go ahead, Sharon.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, the main reason that we're here, today, friends.
Right.
Anyways, typical introduction to a sermon. Anyway, so the reason that we're here is for anybody that's just joining or new to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or Jehovah's Witnesses. Every year, once a year, the Jehovah's Witnesses commemorate Jesus, or they remember Jesus dying for mankind. Although they really think that Jesus only died for them, pretty much. Although they'll say otherwise. They'll say that, oh no, he died for all of mankind. Yeah, if you become one of us. Anyways, so when we leave Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of us are go through so much trauma from shunning. Many turn to alcoholism, drug addiction. And
I'm sorry, they made it up again. Yeah.
Right, Rose, I think. Can you hear me? So anyways, a lot of us, go through so much shunning, and some go through homelessness, and it's really just the most traumatizing thing a person could go through. There's no support. And so as a result, a lot of people actually commit suicide. Anyways, so we have some guests. A tremendous and is one of Shannon. If you worry, you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, and it's Shannon Rowland. So, like I said earlier, I was raised in it. My parents studied out of the Truth Book, but this was in like, I was born in 67. I think they started studying in about 68. They were both like, I think one was Lutheran and one Methodist. But they were young and, you know, it was the new thing. You could live forever. So, they studied for a few years and got baptized, but there was, you know, something underlying that I couldn't understand. I was only 8 when she died. So, you got to understand from my standpoint, it comes from very inexperienced understanding of people. But my mother seemed very depressed. She seemed very angry. I was told later that she was just so in love with my dad, but she would go to smoking again. And then the elders would come over, and then I remember, and I learned this, I put the pieces together because I read Crisis of Conscience, and in August of 1975, my mother really wanted to either get on medication or she wanted to go see a doctor or something. And anyway, the Watchtower came out and said, no, don't do that. Do more in the ministry. So my mother signed up to Auxiliary Pioneer. And for whatever reason, my father put everything in our photo album that had been in her wallet. And she took her life on September 25th, and she had 11 and a half hours. And, you know, it's as I came home from school on the school bus, and we all found her together under the exhaust pipe. And it's an experience that no one should experience. I work with young children today, and what I can say is their understanding of trauma is very different than an adult. And because it was suicide, I wasn't allowed to speak about it. I couldn't ask questions. So on top of it, I went through a lot of depression and suicidal ideation as a teen. Just really severe panic attacks the whole time I was a Jehovah's Witness, from the age of, well, a baby to I finally left at 36. And suddenly it's like the panic attacks left. But, you know, even back then, no one, my mother did not want to be a Jehovah's Witness. She wanted to celebrate Christmas. She wanted to go and do things with their worldly friends. And she only hung on because of my dad. And I think if my dad would have left as well, she would have gone ahead and done it. But no, he was Mr. Elder, and that wasn't going to happen. Plus, it was 1975, the fall of, and so she thought, well, maybe I'll be resurrected. You know, I mean, so many misconceptions throughout the years. But I really I struggled a great deal with just trying to fit in, not having, here I don't have a mom or a sister or anything. And then on top of that, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, so I'm weird. So trying to have friends at school was very difficult. I always felt like an outsider. I just always had to be kind of a chameleon wherever I went to try and fit in any way I could. And I became a true people pleaser. And so I just wound up being miserable. I can say when I had my 2 daughters, though, that not having a mother made me just so excited and love motherhood. Being there, being all 3 of my kids, I have a son that's not a witness, has just been my greatest blessing. But when I left, it was because my elder husband and the gal that I had studied with, they began kind of sneaking around and being on the phone a lot and just being inappropriate. I don't know that they were physical. I did find out later that they weren't allowed to get married in the Kingdom Hall 2 months after our divorce. She then tried to turn my children against me. She had always said I was just the greatest mom and that she learned so much from me, more than her own mom. And then here she tried to badmouth me to anyone. And, you know, I'm disfellowshipped. I can't even stand up for my name. Hopefully, the people that knew me saw how much I enjoyed being a mother, but, and that my children loved me. And then as they got older, I just chose to avoid, you know, the cruelty that this woman would bestow on me. I remember one time her sitting there because one of my babies was over 11 pounds. So she knows that when my stomach isn't covered, I've got this hanging skin. It just happens when you have a baby. And she had the nerve to not let us drive in her driveway. My children are sitting right there and are standing, and my ex-husband and my present husband and my son. And she says, "You can't get on my driveway. You can't. You're ugly. You got an ugly belly." And I thought long ago, if I'm ever going to beat anything with this woman, it's going to be with kindness. And I never, ever wanted my daughters to see me treat her in the same manner that she did me. And fortunately, even though they left me at 18, they did tell me that, you know, I was their loving mom. And, you know, they hated to leave me, but they felt their conscience was leading them to do that. I do have a granddaughter. I don't know her. I called my big brother, my little brother died in 2002, needing a blood transfusion. And, you know, we thought of him as a hero. And then it was about 2 years later that I really started questioning the fake, like, I forget who it was earlier when I first got on here, just the fake roles that everyone was playing. Nicer than anything, but oh my goodness, you go to an R-rated movie, or you date outside of the Jehovah's Witnesses, or you date without a chaperone, or any number of things. You guys all know those things. And you're suddenly this horrid person. And you know, I still believe in some kind of spiritual and Christianity. And I do feel that we weren't brought here to be perfect, because none of us are. And I do feel that what we're supposed to learn in life is empathy for others. The struggles that we go through. My son doesn't live with me because I was homeless living in a tent when he needed to go to kindergarten. But I had no family or others to help me. And that's just the way so many. I'm still at 53. My car is 25 years old. I barely pay my bills. I can't save up to get my plumbing fixed, or, you know, that's just my life. Those things don't matter as much as what it would. I just fear that if I ever see my daughters or my granddaughter, it'll be on my deathbed. And that's a horrible thing to feel. You know, I lost my own mother. Couldn't wait to have children of my own, and then I lost them. And so it's just a double whammy. And mine's only one case. I mean, all of you and everyone watching, and so many in the world, This is just one life that's been destroyed. But I'm not going to let them take my ability to have love and kindness for others away from me. I simply will not do it. And I don't know. That's about all I can say.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
I was just going to say, when I called my dad the other day, it was because my big brother died. And he's been disfellowshipped since he was 18. He was 56, died of multiple organ failure. Unfortunately, he went to drugs and not a healthy lifestyle. But when I finally found my dad's phone number, I had to get on his service and pay $10 to find my own dad's phone number. I didn't recognize his voice. I had to ask his birth date. And then it also was my birthday. And I said, do you know that Sean has died? And he said, yes. And I said, do you remember that this is the anniversary of, Ryan's death? And that's my little brother. And he said, yes. And I says, and I was born today. Do you remember all that? And he goes, yes. And I said, well, what do you think about all this? And he just said, I cannot speak to you, and hung up. I did get to say that I live under the law of love, Dad. That's the only thing I got in real quick.
Wow.
So it's just, I'm sad for my brother's daughter, who's never even been involved in Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not her fault.
Right.
My goodness, to have such a crappy family that won't even, help her. So
It's the reverse with you said about your grandchildren. Like my children, like my son recently, well, it was recent, was in a situation where he had to be hospitalized because of his suicidal thoughts. He said that he was extremely sad that his grandparents were not talking to him anymore. So it's reverse. It's grandparents shunning their own grandkids.
Feel the same way,
Yeah. And so we took him to get some help. We had to actually take him from the school because he actually told the school this. To the school, to the hospital, and he was able to get in therapy and everything. But we knew the impact of leaving, my husband and I, and we left at different times. But it was so hard. It is heartbreaking, and I don't want to get emotional. It's like, it's one thing if you treat me bad, but my baby,
it's extreme bullying. People sometimes they'll ask me, they'll want to know like the belief system. I really could care less what anyone believes. It depends on how you treat one another. So anyhow, I've told people, well, let's just say that one day you walk into work and not one person will ever speak to you again. And then you go home, and that's your personal family. And then you have outside family, and not a one will speak to you. I mean, seriously, if you run into them at Walmart, they turn their head and they walk in the other direction. I mean, that is, and they talk about the world losing the natural law of love. No, Jehovah's Witnesses don't even know what the natural law of love is. And it's hard for me to talk about at times. But then again, I think the more survivors of those of us that are surviving, the more we can help those newly coming out. Or if we're just, I've been going through this for years, but it doesn't really get easier. I haven't heard my daughter's voice in over 10 years. And some days are just horrible. And like you, Sharon, I have found myself having dreams. Like all of a sudden I'm at a get together and I'm looking everywhere for my kids, and I'm seeing all these people that I used to know and love dearly. I mean, I miss just people too that we were friends with, not just, my family, because you do kind of become literal brothers and sisters. You adopt kids and aunts and moms and.
So Shannon, before we bring Ina into the conversation, I wanted to mention your GoFundMe.
Oh yeah.
Could you put the link in the comments and just briefly
Okay.
tell us about it? I don't know if you, because
Well,
I
my
asked for
brother
it.
died. He's in Hawaii, and his daughter, my niece, is in Georgia. She's just turned 28, and she's a welder of all things. But she did lose her job because of this COVID virus, and it's going to be a long time. Or if she gets any kind of workers. What is it called, you guys? Not workers' compensation, unemployment. Yeah. And so we just need to get him cremated. He has been sitting in a refrigerator in the hospital morgue for over a month. And that's just got to be, I'm older. I've been through a lot of death, but this is her first time with someone close to her. And I can't even imagine what's going through her mind and how awful she feels. So we're just trying to get him cremated and the remains mailed back to her in Georgia. I live in Kansas City, and it goes directly to her. I'd never made a GoFundMe page before, but I was able to, and yes, I will be happy to post that into the comments.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your story. No, thank you for sharing your story. Like you said, your story mirrors so many of us, but we thank you for being so brave and coming on and letting us see your beautiful face. I see your necklace. I need that necklace now, honey.
I decided to put a necklace on. I'm like,
I was just saying how pretty you look.
I washed my hair and I tried to comb over the gray.
Well, you're looking good, honey, and thank you so much for again coming on and sharing your story, and even coming on earlier today for the sound check. That was
absolutely.
That was interesting.
I'm glad I did. It was nice to meet some of you previous, and it's nice to meet all of you here tonight as well. I'm wishing the best for all of us. I know it's hard. Some days my anxiety is so high and I can't attach it to anything. It's just all of this. So, and no, I don't have it, but
no,
I'm a smoker. I have a bad smoker's cough, but this is a mantra that I gave myself years ago, and make one for yourself, or you can use mine. But just tell yourself when it seems insurmountable, it seems impossible, say, I can, I have, and I will again.
All right.
It's very easy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Y'all heard Shannon.
All right. Thank you. And I'll get that link up.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
All right. Molly, you've been hanging out in the comments. I think you're on mute, ma'am. Hey, Chessa.
Hey, okay.
Yes, you've been in the comments. I saw you.
There are the bunnies. They just
doing their thing.
They're just
trying to be seen as usual. I'm just joking. You know they love being on the live streams too.
Yeah, they
Ina,
love
can you hear us?
my work on the live streams.
Ina, can you hear us? Hello.
She's muted.
Is she muted?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you for having me.
Earlier, I was telling her how I love her YouTube videos. And I was, before I got a chance to meet Ina earlier, I was telling someone about, I was like, I just love her little setup in the background.
Oh, thank
you. Know, and I found out those are orchids, not lilies, right?
Orchids, yeah. Yep,
yeah.
Orchids.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you for
joining
having
us.
me. I'm proud of all of you, and I'm proud of everyone that listens, because this is really hard. It's scary when you have to start facing it, and it's just scary to hear. And I am newly out, so it's been about 8 months. My husband had left the organization over 20 years ago. So I know that Sharon had explained what she wanted me to kind of talk about. For me, I've never missed a memorial. So this is actually the first memorial I'll ever miss. My family, my father had gotten baptized when in the 70s, where you just show up and you get dunked. And, you know, my mother the same way. They bought a home in 75 when you weren't supposed to. And around that time, my father was addicted to alcohol and he was smoking. And so that was a no-no. So he got disfellowshipped. And at the time, there was no help for someone like that. So when you were smoking and when you had an addictive personality, it was read more scriptures, go out in service. And it made it very difficult for my father. A lot of the elders were old school elders, had no idea about AA. And AA actually didn't really start getting kicked in until probably about, I would say about the 80s. And maybe it did exist, but he didn't have a connection with those people until he started getting his DUIs. And that the judge then makes sure that you start going to meetings. And so he got caught drinking and he started going to meetings and he started getting better. My father had a past of both being molested and he married a woman who had the same background. So my mom had been molested as a child. And my father was both emotionally and physically abused. So that went into his relationship with my mother. And my mother and my father struggled. They had a turbulent marriage in the organization. And so when, you know, you go to elders, they're carpenters, they're tree trimmers, they're the carpet cleaners. They're not therapists. And so when my dad would go for help with the elders, he wasn't going to get what he needed emotionally. And the organization is based on performance. So if you're not performance driven, and if you don't, you know, perform like you're supposed to as a Jehovah's Witness, then you get marked. And so for 15 years, my dad stayed out of the organization. And I think he was okay with that. My mother struggled. She took us to the meetings by herself. It was just my mom and us, and that was it. My younger brother. So for about 15 years, I saw my dad struggling, and he would beg me never to get baptized. I did all my own self-indoctrination because my mother and my father were too busy with their crazy lives. And unfortunately, I got my peer orientation. I was the congregation. And so that's who I associated with. Those were the people that I was trying to identify myself with. My parents were struggling emotionally and had addictions. So my dad came back into the organization about 15 years later, after he had been disfellowshipped for all that time. My brother then, around that time, my brother had gotten baptized. So my timeline is not really 100%, but in the 90s, my brother got baptized. So 89 is when his actual baptism date was. And then about 91, he was molested along with 13 other little boys. It was a serial child molester. So this was not a regular child molester. He was a ministerial servant in the congregation. He had gotten all the little boys at a sleepover. And between 11 and 18, 13 little boys between 11 years old and 18 years old, he molested in one night. He drugged them all and he molested all of them. Now, if you know anything about molest, it will follow you throughout your life. It just doesn't ever really go away. You are always struggling. It's very unfortunate. Your innocence is totally taken away. And my family, my mother and my father, were out of the 26 adults that were associated with each of these minors. They were the only ones that went to the authorities. They at the time, they were told by the elders not to go to the authorities, let Jehovah's organization handle it. And when my mom tried to get the other parents involved, the elders would call her and told her, you know, what do you think? This is a witch hunt? So, you know, it was hard for her to try and get these other parents involved. And it was a no-no. And so they didn't. And the way that they actually found out, the authorities, the detective said in all the 35 years of being a detective, he had never seen anything like this. And he had to bypass the parents and go to the schools directly. And he interviewed each of the boys, and all of them confirmed the molest. Unfortunately, because the parents didn't do anything, you know, there was nothing that the minors, my parents didn't want their only son involved in something that all these other families were not going to get into. It was fighting Goliath, and they didn't want to do that to my brother. Now, you know, because of this, it ends up, you know, ruining lives. After that episode, my father felt like he couldn't take care of his family. You know, it touched our family in ways that you can't explain unless you go through it. And the average publisher in the congregation would never understand it unless they actually experienced it. That's why I think I look at what's happening now for people who are getting molested and people who want to stay in the organization. How is that working for them? Because they're not, you know, when they go back into the congregation, they are doing something that is not really, it's not advised by the elders. They want you to only go by what the branch says. So it's unfortunate for all those people who want to stay Jehovah's Witnesses. And it saddens my heart because they're not going to get the encouragement, or they need a lot of help mentally and emotionally. And that's not, the organization cannot provide that for those people. They don't do that. They don't do that. It's performance based. And so if you're not performing properly, you're out. So my father ended up going into a deep depression because that had happened to his family. And, you know, he ended up smoking and drinking again. And he didn't want to get disfellowshipped. It was about 5 years after my brother had, there was some time in between because my brother got married very young. And my father ended up, I would say, 18. My brother got married at 18. And 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Between 5 years later, my dad shot himself in the head. And I was there. I was 28 at the time. And I found him. I was the only one in the home at the time. And I did CPR. And I reflect back now, and I realize how harsh I was to my father, because I was a baptized Jehovah's Witness, and we're so ingrained with, you know, doing things exactly to the book. And because he had gone back to his drinking and smoking, you know, in the congregation, it's wrong to do that. Looking back now, you know, you reflect back and you think, oh, but it's okay to molest a kid, a child, children. That child molester in our congregation got that. He didn't even get a slap on the hand. I don't even think he got, I think he got quietly, publicly reproved, and then eventually disfellowship because the elders did more research, quote, research. But so, you know, it was isolation and shunning is very damaging and kills people. And it touched my family, and it kills people, and I know that it does. But even then, I was stuck to the organization, and the reason being is because of the quote, Jehovah will take care of it. Jehovah will take care of it, right? It's always Jehovah will take care of it. It'll be cleaned out. I recently called the San Diego Police Department, or the Aliso Viejo Police Department, and I went down and I asked, I wanted to know if this man that had molested these 13 little boys, plus if he had ever been in some sort of registry. And to this day, that man's name is not in the registry. So that man walking around and possibly going to this year's memorial and sitting right next to a child. And that is despicable. That is wrong. So unfortunately, my brother, because this happened to him, he married very young. He made some, bad decisions, and it was reflecting in his marriage. His wife was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And so she walked to the local gunnery that my brother would take her to teach her how to shoot. And she shot herself. So that was just 5 years later. So it was hard for my brother. He had his father commit suicide, and then his ex-wife, because they were going through they were going through a divorce. They were trying to work it out. She was having a hard time, and he, was young when he got married. And I think when you're a young person, you don't know where your sex is. Especially when that happens to you at such a young age, you're barely learning about life and sexuality. I mean, it's around 14 or 15 that this happened to my brother. So he wanted to prove himself as a man. And a lot of those young men had similar lives where they got married or had excessive sexual relationships and couldn't keep their marriages together. And a lot of the families that this touched, they've been divorced. I've looked back and I've tried to contact to see where what happened to these families. The children didn't, the young boys that were molested did not stay in the organization. Why would they? And yet the parents are still in, and seeing them at district conventions or circuit assemblies, you would ask, well, how's so-and-so? And they'd give you this look of, oh, they're not in the truth. Well, why would they be in the truth?
Right.
Why? You didn't protect them. You didn't do things properly. And, reflecting now, I see a lot of, I see how the organization didn't protect the children, and they didn't think of what, those children, okay, think about it this way too. Those children, because they got touched that way, what does that mean for them in the future? Are they going to be molesters? Are they going to molest children in the future? Think about that, because they didn't get the proper help that was needed for recovery. It touches people's lives in ways that you can't even explain. And so, unfortunately, that's everybody has a story, and that happens to be our family's story. It's very unfortunate, but I think the Australian Royal Commission, when I didn't realize how many people were touched like this. I thought it was a singular even though this is in a magnitude of, I've never heard of it before. I mean, I've heard of terrible things, but 13 little boys in one night, drugged and all molested, I never really have heard that before. And I did have some confrontation with lawyers from the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and they wanted me to get involved in a matter regarding my brother, and I would not. And I asked my husband, how because he's been out for so long, and he explained to me, don't get involved with those men because of the fact that they're lawyers. They are there to do their job for the Watchtower and Bible Tract Society. And I got to hear that when I was on a conversation with one of those lawyers. They're supposed to be brothers. They're supposed to protect, right? Protect all the sheep. But there's a point where they will not protect the sheep. They are lawyers for a corporation. They don't care about the person.
Anna, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sorry I had to go off a couple times because you got me emotional over here. I heard this and I heard it again, and it's the same. I didn't realize, until you talked just now, how much the Watchtower or their policies have ravaged your family. And I just
other families.
And
other families,
all of our
right?
families, we're all affected. That's why we're here. Right. I think it's notable that you said this is your first memorial that you missed. I know that's a huge deal. It was a huge deal for me when I missed my first memorial. We were actually talking about it earlier in our little makeup and chat session, like when the first time we missed the memorial. And do you feel? How does it feel? Do you feel like you should be there, or is it sad?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't feel I should be there, and I don't feel that this is Armageddon, and I feel free. I feel free, and I feel that we should. I don't want to shit anybody, but this is a release for us. We see what we're seeing, but it also is reflective, and it helps us to see that we can get past fears. And, you see everybody kind of being in a lot of fear right now, but this too shall pass. But it does help with being able to reflect on how strong anyone is to get out of this organization. This is hard for people. And you lose family members, you lose friends, but you gain so much more. And it's hard to feel that way when you're alone, but this is a game changer. This doesn't let you feel alone. There are YouTube. My dad didn't have YouTube. My dad didn't have access to other people's feelings and what they were going through. He didn't have the Australian Royal Commission. He didn't have newspapers putting out child molestings. We are on information overload, but you at least see what's going on, and you're not alone. No, we're not alone. And that's a big thing. And when you show your face and people see you, I think that makes a very big difference. I didn't miss meetings. I would take my kids. I never missed memorial. This is really when people come out and show their faces, people know who you are. And It's 7 degrees of separation. We're all really close as Jehovah's Witnesses. We know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And that makes a difference. And I know that there are a lot of people that are in Bethel that I know have suffered depression. I know that. And, depression is something that, like I said, it's a performance-based organization. If you can't perform, you're out.
That's the truth. I want to just welcome Cypher. Am I saying that right?
Hey.
Thank you for joining us. Sharon, you had something you were trying to say?
I can share a little bit if you guys want to hear.
Of course. I didn't want to miss Sharon. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. This is my first time sharing, actually.
I can hear you a little bit.
Who?
Sharon.
Me?
Sorry.
Oh,
Sharon, are you?
Hear me good?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I just got some new information in about the memorial. And I don't know if I'm with all of the memorials, but I have heard that somebody was sent to a Jehovah's Witness that we know to pass the bread and wine at their home. Somebody actually physically came to their home under quarantine.
Wow.
Can we spray them with Lysol?
So just wanted to add that. And thank you, Ina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ina. So go ahead, Cyberfun. Let's hear from you.
My real name is Jolene. I'm from Florida. Born and raised. I think 4th generation witness. I've been out for the last decade, but this is recent for me to actually get into all of this. I was a regular pioneer. My dad was an elder. My mom was a regular pioneer. It was intense, you know. It was a life that, you know, all of us are familiar with, but to get out of it and to escape all that is something that, you know, not everybody understands fully, especially around this time of year. This is my 10th missed memorial, so it's cool, but I just found out that my grandfather committed suicide. So it happened about 1.5 years ago. And I'm just now finding out. So that's kind of been something.
I am so sorry. How long ago did you find out?
I'm so sorry.
My family, being witnesses, you know how they are. They still haven't officially told me 100%, but I finally squeezed out of my mom that there was nothing left for him to have a funeral for. They didn't even do a funeral for him.
I am so sorry.
Well, it's the funniest thing too, because he was active. He was a ministerial servant for years. He auxiliary pioneered. My grandmother passed away, and he remarried because, of course, that's what everybody pushes. But then they got mad at him, and I don't know what happened after that, but I know that wasn't much longer after that. The lady he married took all his money, ran off. And after that, I didn't hear anything else. And then I found out a month after he died. My mom contacted me through text message and said that he had just died, and if I wanted to know what happened, I could. But I didn't really want to open that door because my mom she's one of the most avid Jehovah's Witness. Can't think of a good word for her right now, but she's one of those that will make you literally want to bleed out of your ears because she just is so indoctrinated, and she's so adamant that everything that she, you know, has done, or everything that she has experienced, is all because of Jehovah. My family, before they were witnesses on her side, were into like Wiccan, black magic stuff. So they went from opposites. My grandfather, who recently committed suicide, was actually an atheist before being a Jehovah's Witness. So for him to go from being an atheist to so devoted for years and years, and because of the choices that they forced him to make, they also shunned him, which just blows me away that they, you know, I mean, I should be used to it by now. I'm 31. I've dealt with this my whole life. But to hear it over again and to see it within my family is just, it blows my mind. On another weird set, though, my aunt, who is a regular pioneer, admitted to my cousin, who's not a Jehovah's Witness, that my grandmother has been visiting her in her dreams, which we all know is like huge satanic, like, you know, that's not, you know, in their world, that's not acceptable. That's not okay. So in the weirdest, messed up way, I'm actually kind of hopeful that maybe with my aunt, I don't know what to expect from that, but with both my grandparents passing away as soon as they did, within like 2 years of each other, maybe it'll lighten up the way. Anyways, back to all that. I recently was having to go through some photographs and stuff, and I came across my old Pioneer School picture, which was all sorts of messed up and brought back so many memories. Because I think I was 16 or 17, and I was that kid that did everything right. I was homeschooled, pioneered, did everything, and people still shunned me constantly, no matter what I did. I grew up shunned, being as active as I could. It's something that's messed with me my entire life, because when you're forced to be only around Jehovah's Witnesses, and then you go and you hang around those Jehovah's Witnesses, and they literally physically abuse you, they sexually abuse you, they emotionally abuse you, and then that's who you're told you're only allowed to be friends with. It's something we've all experienced, I'm sure, and it's something that we all will continue to experience, because
I just want to take this moment just to say you are so brave. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, through your tears, we've been we were talking all day about how emotional this day would be.
Oh, yeah.
And you just lost your grandfather, right?
It was about a year and a half ago. Unfortunately, because I also went through a divorce during all this last year. That kind of became like a background until I could figure out what was actually going on with everything.
Right.
Now that my life has kind of calmed down just ever so slightly, I I started delving into that a little bit more, because my mom had reached out recently with the whole virus stuff going around. I figure too is also because of the memorial coming up, because I know she can't just have one reason to contact me, and it can't just be one normal positive reason.
Right.
So I kind of one-upped and kind of did this backlash of like, I love you so much, and I hope that, you know, one day you can see what I've seen, and I hope that you can see that I'm never going to go back, but you understand why I'm never going to go back. And I kind of one-upped it before she even started with the invite.
Well, at least you responded. When my mom reached out to me, hadn't reached out to me in years, through hospitalizations, whatever. She reached out to me about the corona thing. She didn't say anything. She just sent the video, and I freaked out, and I just said, "Thank you. Hope everything is okay." And then I blocked her, because I didn't know. Emma, I didn't know what to do. You know,
I've had very bad responses before. I won't lie. My responses have gone from rage to crying to trying to get her to understand my point of view, what my beliefs are now, because she tried to ask one time, and that was just an awful awful experience of it just being like, why did I even bother trying to have a normal conversation with you?
We all have opened that door, and that is what I was fearing. I was fearing that if I open that door again, you know, she would say something, or she would lead me on and be positive, and then just cut me right back off again. And I have experienced that we all have so many times, until she just went radio silent, 3 or 4 years ago. But well, except for the message in which I blocked her, but I wasn't trying to shun her back. It was just I think I just got triggered real easy. It was just unexpected. It's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, people don't understand the triggers unless you are a Jehovah's Witness or something very similar to that mind control, that one word thing can really get you. Somebody the other day, I was at work. I work at a gas station, so this was very rare for them to even use this word, but somebody used the word theocratic, and I about lost it. Like, I was just like, why would you even say that word? Like, that's not even a word that normal people use. And they just looked at me like I had, grown 5 heads, and they were just like, it's just a word, man. Like, I'm like, sorry, you just don't understand. But this is the first time I've shared any of this with like anybody, so I really appreciate you guys listening.
Oh, we are here, and we are here even to the moon and back, sweetie. Even after this, every one of us reached out to any one of us if you need a lifeline, somebody to talk to. We rant and rave to each other all the time. So
it's nice.
We do.
Thank you for feeling that you can share your story with us.
Yes, and thank you for trusting us to be able to come on and share it with us.
Well, thank you. No, I really appreciate it. It's amazing how much the brainwashing follows you even a decade later. But I'm finally getting to that point where I realize that we can actually make a difference if we stick together instead of sitting around isolated boxes. And
right. If anything we are learning in this time is that something indiscriminately can happen to any of us, no matter our economic status. And I'm speaking about COVID, but even in our struggle, I mean, we need each other. Even now in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, you know, we fight, we fuss, we don't get along, but at the end of the day, you know, we all, you know, we share the same trauma, we share the same bonds, we share the same goals. We want the best for each other, and we want the best for those who still are trapped inside. And unfortunately, it's a lot of our family that's still there. I mean, and we're here tonight because our families are congregated all over the world. You know, well, they shouldn't be, but I don't know, because Sharon gave us a little update. We're gonna have to look into that. They shouldn't be, because they should be under quarantine. But you know, but they're night. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Coming
Thank you
on.
so much. Thank you. And actually, I would just like to take one quick moment as well. Father, sorry, this is unrelated to my family, but this is somebody close to me as well. My father's best friend last year actually lost his life because his family, who are still Jehovah's Witnesses, went against his power of attorney, who was his son, who was not, who was driving back down from Virginia, province in Florida at the time, and his family pushed no blood.
Wow.
So I just kind of want to take a moment for him today too. His name is Steve Beatmeyer. And he was like a second dad to me too. And I just wanted to be aware that our families still can, no matter how messed up it is and how much we don't have
if
any.
you could reach out to one of us after the show, because one of us would love to talk with you, even if even on the phone.
Definitely.
Yes.
I have a lot more to share, but there's definitely not enough time in the day for any of this stuff. 20 years of this stuff is a lot to unpack.
Hey, but we're here. I mean, a lot of us are on the phones late at night talking to each other, talking to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, talking to Jehovah's Witnesses. So we are definitely here. Don't think this is an empty invitation. Like we're saying, we're here. No, we're really here.
No, you guys
We got you. We got your back. All right, Cyberphone. We have thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Make sure you reach out to us after it like in private message, or even in the comments, or like leave your probably private message.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
probably private message.
I got Chess on Facebook, so
Okay, great. Chessa. We have Johanna.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
So, give me one moment here. I just want to check the comments. I know we have another person joining us. It says that we're full in queue here. I just wanted to take the time out to say thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your stories and trusting our platform to be able to share your stories and spending our first memorial on this platform together. Chess, the founder, we know you're a pro at this. So, but Chessa is going to be having live streams throughout the night, even though we're going to be off. So make sure that if you still want to keep going or want to still hear more stories, and I don't know, Chessa, why don't you tell us what you have going on throughout the night so people know?
I moved back my live stream 1 hour just so we'd have a little bit more time here. But I'm going to jump up on my channel in about an hour and just greet everybody there, bring some people on, and then go ahead and read the list of names again, because I know there's some people who are either stuck in a Zoom meeting watching the memorial with their family or something like that. So I wanted to catch some of the late night peeps just to kind of go over things again and make sure we get everybody. But yeah, this was amazing. I am blown away. You girls are fantastic, and thank you to everybody who's jumped in. And it's great that we have a full queue, because that means we have so much solidarity and community tonight, and that's just beautiful for me to see. So thank you guys so much. That's awesome.
All right, Joe. Am I saying your name right? Don't make me mess up your name. Is it Johanna or Johanna?
Yeah, it's Johanna. Yep.
Johanna. I like that better than Johanna. I don't know where I came up with that anyway.
I'm not fancy enough for Johanna.
Thank you so much. So did you come on to share tonight?
I did.
Okay. We're all ears.
I did. So I'll try to give you the high level. I come from I'm in Indiana. My mom was the one who was a witness to begin with. She had a really, really hard life. And I think of, her favorite scripture was Isaiah 65:17, that all these things would not be called to mind anymore. So I think that's really what drew her to this religion. And she raised all of us. There were 7 of us kids in the truth, I should air quote that. My dad actually got baptized kind of for her, but he couldn't quit smoking, so he ended up getting disfellowshipped when I was young. I was the youngest of 7, and I was like the epitome of the good child. I was the only one that was homeschooled, so I was baptized at 11. I started regular pioneering at 12, and I pioneered up until I was 20 and ended up getting disfellowshipped the first time. My family was pretty kind of well known in our area because there were so many of us kids, and we had, like other people are talking about, I love all my siblings and both my parents, but people thought us to be one way, but behind closed doors, we were really dysfunctional. My brother was married young, and he was married to a beautiful young girl. Everyone was witnesses at this time, and she had health issues, and she knew her whole life that she could not or should not get pregnant because she wouldn't be able to survive it. But she did get pregnant, and immediately, the doctors, every specialist under the sun, said she would need to terminate her pregnancy. But of course, the witnesses all rallied around him, and the elders came, and prayed with them all the time and said everything would be fine. And unfortunately, she died when she was just after she gave birth prematurely, and their son passed away as well. So my brother was 21 or 22, and he lost his wife and his son. He spiraled after that, and he left the organization. He was the brother that was right next to me in age. And so when I left, I had it was just he and I, because I have a sister who's been pioneering for 30 years, and they are like the most devout witnesses that you could ever meet. And so they really do take shunning to, I haven't had contact with them for years. So, and then my brother had some health issues, and he passed away unexpectedly 4 years ago. So I've really been the last couple years struggling. I've always known that it wasn't the truth, but just accepting the fact that it is a full-on cult really struck me, because I gave a public speech here in our city during Pride last year, basically about how terribly homophobic and dangerous that they are. And so I was upped to the level of apostate. And so I really don't have any family contact now. It's wreaked a lot of havoc. I have another member of my family who unfortunately is a child molester and has only been reproved in the past and is currently serving as an elder. And I'm currently working to talk to attorneys about having that wrong made right somehow. The list goes on about how damaging that it has been, but I think the main thing is the mental health issues that it's caused in the family too. So, in my case, Beth passed away really just because of the policy of not terminating a pregnancy. I realize that is every woman's choice, but obviously when you're a witness, it's really not. And it really was what killed my brother young, because he was so heartbroken. So that's kind of the real high level of my story. Trust me, there's a lot more to it. My mom passed away a few years ago, while I was disfellowshipped, and that of course was awful. My mom passed away as well, but or my dad passed away as well, and I've had to reconcile a lot of guilt over my dad kind of being a second-class citizen in our family because he was disfellowshipped, when really he was an amazing father and human being. So that's about it. That's kind of my story. Thanks for having me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm talking and you can hear me. Okay, here we go.
I can hear you now.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I wanted to say, how can people reach you if they want to reach out to know more? Can they reach out? First of all, can you reach out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have like my own, personal page on Facebook, but look the cutie. But I can link like my email too.
Yeah. So we'll link your email and everything below in the comment.
I can type that in the chat.
Yeah, we're all on each other on a journey. So we're all, we pay it forward to try to help other people, when we can, because that is really important, because sometimes activists, and dare I say, even sometimes me as a woman, we kind of give and give and give and give. And, sometimes we need to, learn our limits. And you learn that as an activist you want to help everybody. Can't help everybody.
So I did start hosting a few like small meetups with people that I've stayed in contact with that aren't witnesses anymore. And that's been really enlightening and helpful. And I always say that the witnesses don't know what they did when they taught me about how to be a pioneer and preach for 90 hours a month. Because trust me, I am using those skills on turning the tables on them. And I said they're going to have to change their name from Watchtower to Watch Out for Her. So.
Right. I like that.
But thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
You guys, I'm having technical difficulties over here with my mic. So I do apologize. Let me see. I'm trying to bring Molly back on. Give me a second. Can you guys hear me well, or is it an echo?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. Molly, we're checking in with you, honey. I know it's late over there in Hungary.
Hello, Mini Chessa.
Oh, baby Chess. I didn't even see baby
She
Chess.
can't hear us because of my earpiece, but she's very excited. She said it's happy birthday time because she sees all the candles.
The candles. Thank you guys for everybody who joined on with us today. I'm gonna go to the comments here. Give me a second here. I do apologize. I don't know why our app doesn't want to work for us today. Somebody says, "Oh, she's gorgeous, Chessa. She is gorgeous." Oh, everybody's in love with Lily. She's so cute. Hi, Lily. Oh. And Louise is saying hello from Brazil.
Hi.
Hello. And just going through the comments. I don't want to make sure I missed all of you guys. Johanna dropped her email in the comments, so I won't put it on the screen, but y'all can see her email in the comments if you want to reach out to her after today. And somebody says, thanks, Cypron, thanks for sharing. That looks like Ina. Is that her YouTube there? Yes, it is her YouTube there. All right.
Hi, Nora.
Says, hey, y'all. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. All right, you guys.
I needed to remove my makeup because
we're going to get to the portion of the show, and I hope this works well because, you guys, my husband actually dipped out to visit a local Kingdom Hall to see whether or not they are following the quarantine.
Oh.
So
I can't hear her now.
Can you hear me?
Oh no.
Yeah,
Of
now
course,
it's
I'm gonna have
better.
sound issues when he leaves. So we're gonna just bear with us with the issue with the sound issues. But so we're gonna kind of move through our program because we have some things that we wanted to share with you guys too. Beginning with, I just want to start with this fabulous. I don't know if you call this a brochure. You know, we all Jehovah's Witnesses, so everything is a brochure to me, y'all. I think this is Chessa's. Chessa did this, right?
Yes.
Isn't this beautiful, y'all?
Thank you.
I just had to put it on the screen. I was going through my messages and I saw it and I thought, wow. So this is why we're here today, because we're holding an online candlelit visual. And we're going to read off a list of names of those that we lost. But before we begin with that, I think we want to share some of our stories since we've heard you guys's. And to begin with, it looks like I just want to make sure I have everything here. I don't know who wants to begin. Sharon is not here. So I don't know, Chessa, we have some photographs that you wanted to share.
Did you get them?
I got a few of them. Do you want me to just go through them? Sure. I can do that. Hang on one second. Let me try to figure this out.
I'm going to try not to get too emotional.
Okay, yeah, this is going to cover your whole face.
Okay, that's fine.
Hang on. Okay, you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not going to work. Okay, sure. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
fine. It's okay. So yeah, the whole point of Memorial is to remember the people that we've lost. And I actually started this before my dad passed away, but he passed away 2 months before I actually did the memorial vigil in Brooklyn. So it was a lot of grief, but he was a wonderful, wonderful man, and he always encouraged me to try to show love and to share in the community. And so I figured this would be a good way to take our power back and to be able to grieve the ones that we've lost, because if there's two things that we need to do on Memorial, it's find people to associate ourselves with so that we're not pulled into situations that we're uncomfortable with, and we're not having to give up our rights to be with our families. We can be around people who love us for who we are and want us to have our full autonomy, our full human rights. And that's what this Memorial is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be for you to be yourself and for you to share in a community with others. And then if you have lost people, to be able to share in grief as well. But I am blown away by what's happened tonight. A lot of the pictures I have up for my setup are of my dad. It's been a year now and some change, just like a month or two over. And it's insanely painful every single year in a different way. I had different stages of grief now than I had a year ago. And so getting ready for the Memorial at the same time as grieving for Dad in Brooklyn 2 months before, and then doing it again now, it's been difficult, but I'm very grateful to be a part of it. Sorry.
I'm malfunctioning here. Give me a second here.
That's okay. Most of the pictures I sent were of my dad too, anyway.
I missed my cue. I missed my cue.
Lily started
I'm back,
fussing, so I stopped
No,
early.
I was trying to see. I saw Sharon coming in, and here we go. I think Sharon's back. But before we go there, I do want to show your pictures on full screen. So I'm going to remove us from the stream so people can see them.
Okay, that's fine. And then if I can say one more thing, I'm sorry, I forgot. So something that happened today, well, yesterday, a family member of mine in the area was contacted by their local elders, and the local elders wanted to invite me specifically through that family member to join in on the Zoom and watch the memorial. And it was really weird to have that kind of invitation, considering. And then I got invited later on today by my relative to come over, and in fact, I will go over and watch Zoom with them because I'm here doing events. has greatly upset them. So there's going to be division tonight. You know, if you're not going to join in the Zoom meeting, or if you're doing something different, or maybe even if you're doing this, you might have family members that that will not be able to emotionally cope with that, and that's just another way that we're controlled. So I feel bad, just as bad for my family member right now as I do for everybody else, because they're in between a rock and a hard place. They want me to share in that with them, and I'm not interested, and I'd rather be here supporting everyone. So it's a weird dynamic. Memorial is weird, but I'm glad to be here. So.
I want to show some of the pictures that Chessa has here. It's going to cover some of us up here. Chessa, can you see this picture? Is that you, Chessa?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me and my dad. That was when we were in London. We were on top of one of those red buses, and we did a tour through the city. Yeah, that was a good trip. And that was my dad with Lily. Shortly before he passed, he got to see Lily, and that's my mom too. And then that's my dad with me when I was a baby. It's so crazy to see like his age progression, how hard he aged from all the trauma and the stress and the drinking. My father drank himself to death. It took a long time. It was a long method of self-harm. Anybody who has been through addiction or who is still in active addiction knows how that feels, to be in that kind of situation where you want to cope, but you're coping in a way that's damaging because you don't know what else to do. So I try to reach out to people who are going through addiction now. If anybody's going through something like that and wants somebody to talk to, please contact me. My father was a beautiful, beautiful person with a beautiful mind. He was brilliant, but in the end, it got him. So I'm glad to honor his name tonight. I'm going to try not to cry. His name is the first one on the list. A lot of us have family members on this list, so it's going to be emotional, but I'm glad that we can all love and support each other through this.
Thank you so much, Chessa, for all that you do, for founding Memorial, for pouring into to us. And I know, as you said, that it's hard, given the nature of it and what we do, and a lot of us have lost loved ones, or could have lost loved ones, or almost lost loved ones. Because of the shunning policies, the blood policies of the Jehovah's Witnesses. So thank you so much for sharing your pictures and stuff with us too. Sharon, you just came back on the line. Can you hear us? I know they're always saying, can we hear you? Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
The struggle is real.
Yeah, especially live streaming. Okay, so Sharon, you had pictures as well that you wanted to share, and your story as well.
Show the pictures first, or
it's your world. Would you like me to show the pictures? Do you want the picture first?
I'll start with my personal story first.
Okay.
So I thought I was in love, and I ended up marrying him. He was 15 years older than me. And so I went through 16 years, of abuse, and then I finally left, and I didn't know how to leave. And as the Jehovah's Witness, you don't think about separation as an option. And so I, ended up slightly committing a little bit of touch of fornication, I guess you would call it. I kissed somebody. So I was excommunicated from the congregation, but not for committing adultery, because I didn't. I was disfellowshipped for refusing to stay with my abusive husband. So anyways, as a direct result of that, I, also became suicidal a couple of times. right before being disfellowshipped, and then right after, and then, years after. There were times when I just wanted to end it all, and I didn't have the courage to do it. And at the time, I believed in God, and I begged him just to make something happen. Anyways, I'm glad that he or anything didn't. I'm glad that I didn't. I'm still here. I'm better than ever. And I think, throughout all of this, that's the message that I hope that anyone listening, if they're very depressed and they're having those thoughts, get help, because life can perk up, life can get better, and for many of us it has, better than ever. So just hang in there, just one more day. Anyway, so after I was disfellowshipped, I have 4 children, and we went through homelessness. There were times I didn't have a vehicle. I had to walk miles to get to work. I had to walk miles to get back home from work every day. I supported my children, working 2 to 3 jobs most of the time, sometimes 4 jobs. And I had very little support from family. When you're disfellowshipped from Jehovah's Witnesses and totally shunned, it's just totally traumatic. Anyways, I think it's probably harder on the children, the second generation out from leaving a cult, as it is opposed to us. And I won't go into details, because I respect my children's privacy. They're young adults now, and they're actually all 4 are doing excellent. And I don't want to start bawling, but I will say that I could have lost my children to suicide attempts, all 4 of them. And I would like to say that my children have good careers, except for the COVID thing. 3 of them lost their jobs recently. But anyways, they survived. I survived, and you will survive too. So that's all I have to say about that. Otherwise, I will be bawling. And if Spencer, if you don't mind showing the pictures or videos or whatever you have that I have.
And here we go. Give me a second here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so
Okay, this actually is a picture of one of our activist sons, Brian Eugene Eckert. I won't go into detail. He's not on tonight. But I know that he would want us to remember his son. If I remember correctly, I think his son was only 19 when he took his life. And I believe he took his life in February, towards the end of February. And not a day goes by that Brian doesn't miss him dearly. And yeah, that's Brian's son. This is a picture of my Uncle Danny, who was a shy boy growing up, with curly hair and a big smile. He got deep into Jehovah's Witnesses, became an elder, traveled where the need was great in the heart of West Virginia, and in a very poverty-stricken area, had 5 children, raised them in utter poverty. Sometimes they only had onions to eat, sometimes only a big bag of popcorn kernels. They had mules. They took mules through the forests deep in the heart of West Virginia, collected moss and sold it to hobby stores. And I mean, they really, truly had to survive. The Jehovah's Witnesses did not provide financial assistance for all of the pioneering that family did. Anyways, in a lot of ways, it was kind of a hoax because, see, my uncle had mental illness that went undiagnosed, and that was not something that was encouraged, as we all know. Eventually, he was severely abusing his family, and it wasn't until his four youngest children were teenagers that his wife decided to leave. They all had a black outfit that they kept in their dresser drawers, and they had planned an escape route through the forest. And they had, that signal that if it was time to go, because they were afraid he was going to kill them. He was an elder. They did leave, and he was facing being disfellowshipped. He really should have gotten mental help. And of course, it was easier for the elders to just disfellowship him. And so he was they were going to disfellowship him, and instead he pulled up in front of his oldest daughter's house and committed suicide. So when they came out in the morning, they found him. He gassed himself to death.
Sorry, Sharon. The next one we have here, here is.
This is a picture. This beautiful, beautiful woman is my ex-sister-in-law. Her name was Sarah Trevino Fleming Swartz. Married 2 or 3 times, I think. Anyways, she went through abuse in her marriage to an elder, and they got into an argument. She got punched in the face, black and blue eye. He was temporarily removed as an elder, then relocated. She went off the deep end, started drinking. She also is a sex abuse victim by an elder when she was a young child. All of her 10 brothers and sisters, most of them were sexually molested by this elder that studied with their family as well. And so she turned to alcohol. Eventually, she developed a rare blood disorder and started having blood clots in her legs. And she was disfellowshipped at the time. She was afraid she would die alone without her family near her. So she worked really hard, went to every meeting, even though she had blood clots in her legs and was supposed to keep her legs elevated. She went to every meeting. She got reinstated just in time. Her health took a turn for the worst. She never filled out the no blood card. And so 2 elders stood at the foot of her hospital bed as her legs turned blue up to her knees. And they kept repeating over and over, you don't want a blood transfusion, right, Sarah? Right, Sarah? Sarah died, I think she was 49 years old when she died of a no blood transfusion. And the doctor suspected she had lupus. This is a picture of Clyde Gill when he was a little boy. He was adopted at the age of 2 by a Jehovah's Witness family. And do you have his picture? There he is again as a young man. And then I think there's one more picture of him with his sister.
Let me work with the one with his sister.
All right.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. Give me a chance.
Okay. So Clyde Gill's story. First of all, one of our fellow activists, Ramona Gill, this was her brother, and this is the story that she shared with us. I'm just going to read it. Clyde was adopted by JW parents at 2 months old. Oh, 2 months, not 2 years. Sorry. As a little boy, he enjoyed the life of being a JW kid until he turned 12. The bullying kicked in from kids and their parents, and she means at the Kingdom Hall. He tried so hard to fit in, became an unbaptized publisher, wanted to get baptized so bad, and always was in service. But the bullying never ended, only worsened because our family was not the popular one in the congregation. Eventually, he stopped trying. Afterwards, my mom kicked him out of the home at 16 because she felt he was interfering with my dad becoming an elder. While living on the street, he eventually started hanging with with a bad group of people. He lived on the streets from 16 to 23. He became an alcoholic and used opiates. The day of his death, he spoke to my mom about getting his life together, going back to school to get his GED and get a job. Her only interest was him coming back to the hall and getting baptized. On January 1st, 2019, at 6:30 p.m., he tried calling my mom. My mom said she didn't want to talk to him and wouldn't answer the phone. Approximately 7:15 that night, my brother stood in front of a fast-moving car to end his life. We were notified approximately after 8 p.m. that my brother was dead. Jehovah's Witnesses killed my brother. And that's a picture of Ramona with her brother, Clyde. I would like to say that that Ramona, I have met Ramona in person. I'm originally from Ohio, and she's from Michigan. And I actually created a support group in her hometown. I didn't know her at the time. I created it for someone else. It was about 3 hours from me. And so the first time I met up there, I'm saying this because this is how important the meetup groups are. So I was on disability at the time and raising my last child on my own. So we lived on $750 a month. I saved my money for 2 months. So I had enough gas money, and I didn't want to sit there and eat without, eat like I was poor, which I was. So I saved my money. I traveled up there. I met with another activist. A few months later, I saved enough money again. I traveled up there again. This time I met with Ramona for the first time. And, like a lot of us, that horror story that I just read, it doesn't stop there. Like, when someone ends their life, it affects everybody. Everybody that's left behind misses them. It's a ripple effect. And that ripple effect doesn't just last for a week, a month, a year. It lasts for generations to come. So once again, if anybody is very depressed, reach out to one of us, please.
Oh, sorry. That was rough, y'all. I think we have this last one here, Sharon.
This is a picture. A lot of you probably recognize Sharon Fallis, and this is one of her brothers. Sharon was actually on the Leah Remini show. What was it, guys? About a year ago now? Has it been a year? So she actually, her and her brother were on that show and on TV, and they shared with everyone, the whole world, that they lost 2 of their brothers who remain Jehovah's Witnesses. They lost them to suicide. I can't imagine losing 2 brothers to suicide. And when I watched that show, like, tears were just pouring down my face. I think all of us were feeling that way. I actually borrowed this picture off of a Facebook group that Trisha Ferengia started. I think it was 2017 or 18. She started it, and it's called JW Suicides and No Blood Memoriam. That group is specifically to share stories and a place for healing for people that have lost a loved one.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing those stories with us. Thank you so much for all of you who submitted your stories. And thank you, Ramona, for sharing those stories with us as well. We are going to move to the comments here. Give me a second to look through the comments here to see how you guys are reacting. Give me one moment here. Just browsing through here. Speaking of shunning and protesting and that sort of thing, I wanted to, before we moved on to the holding the visual and reading the names off of those who we lost to the Watchtower or that were victims of the Watchtower's policies, the harmful policies. PJ, I know you've shared your story. You're going to share your story next week. I did clip I think some footage of you with that sign outside your mom's Kingdom Hall. I'm gonna show that really quick. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah.
Because you said that particular sign, it says shunning kills.
Yes.
With you like across many states like Canada. I forgot all the other places. Mississippi, that's where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one?
It originated in Canada. Trisha made it. Trisha Frangia had made the banner. And she sent it to Vancouver, I want to say, to Dwayne MacArthur. Yeah. And then it got sent to the first London protest that you were at in 2018. And then it came to me down here in Mississippi. And then it was supposed to go back. I shipped it and then it got returned in the mail. And then, other things have happened and I don't think I can ship it right now anyway.
Right. So here's that clip right here. Here.
Hey everybody. I'm out here in Mississippi down in Pascagoula walking towards the Kingdom Hall. I'm going to protest across the street today with my Shunning Kills sign. And it's probably going to be boring, but I'm going to video it. Get close. Megan next, and she is going to take them over to Australia to do the protest there. This sign has been to Canada and London and now Mississippi, and this summer it will be going to Australia to give the witnesses over in Australia the heads up that they need to stop shunning their family members and loved.
That's you, PJ. Outside your mama's Kingdom Hall. Now that is brave.
Well, that was what I did for Memorial on Memorial.
Oh, okay.
Year. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I went out and stood in front of my mom's Kingdom Hall with that sign that says "Shunning Kills" because of my sister committing suicide after being disfellowshipped. And I talked to a couple of people that were passing by that were going into the Kingdom Hall, and they all said hello, and everybody was reading the sign. And I saw a couple people I recognized, and they skittered off to go tell the elders it was me.
They love to tell.
And they had a guy out there kind of looking to see if I was going to try to come up towards the Kingdom Hall or anything with a cell phone in his hand. I guess they were going to call the cops on me if I tried to do anything, but I was just out there to peacefully protest the fact that they think that cutting people off from everyone and everything that they know for an indefinite amount of time is the proper way to punish people for silly things like getting tattoos, smoking cigarettes, kissing somebody that they're not married to, stupid stuff that shouldn't cause this type of reaction to come from people. And that overreaction causes people who are already damaged by the religious abuse we all suffered while we were in to in turn overreact and think that life's not going to get better unless they're not here anymore. And that needs to stop. They need to be held responsible for it. They're very blood guilty.
And that's why you protest. That's why we all, we're all in activism, because I mean, it has touched us in some way or another. I know that you and I had a chance to tell our stories about being touched with suicide. I know our family friend, I don't know if the person from my congregation is listening tonight, because she reached out a couple weeks ago and I was very surprised, of our family friend that committed suicide over the shunning. Then there are, close family members. And one day I will share. You guys are all sharing tonight, and y'all giving me so much courage, but I'll never be able to finish, y'all, if I get to start crying. But but my close family members that were Jehovah's Witnesses who attempted suicide. So we were able to tell our stories, and we'll probably tell a little bit more death next week, because of the Kegel Harbor murder suicide, where the name of the woman escapes me. I think it's Lauren Stewart.
Lauren Stewart.
Yeah, where and let me tell you, that particular story was on the news here in Michigan nonstop. So it got a lot of play here. And had I been probably a resource for like some of the activists I know, I could have just actually taped it, because some of you guys actually sit there with a recorder and record the news things. But so the news writer reached out to a newspaper writer, rather, Teresa Ballas, who actually just won an award recently for her work, not specific to this, but for her body of work. Reached out to a number of us in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, and to interview us about, how we were affected by that. And I will say that since then, it's given me a perspective, because I was really new to the ex-Jehovah's Witness community when I was approached for the story. But so when the newspaper came out, it was I just remember you being their front page with your sister. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if we can see your
yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna move y'all. Y'all are gonna see my janky setup. But yeah, I've got her picture over there with my wine and my crackers.
Yeah. And you were there holding the picture of your sister. I remember it vividly etched in my mind. We'll link the news article below, because it wasn't just PJ and I. It was other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that told so many stories that came out of the woodworks because of the murder suicide there. And I'm here in Michigan, so I would like to think that if this ever came across to their family, to know that you're not alone. You're not alone. That a lot of us have been in that situation where we have felt desperate, felt alone, and just needed sometimes just a touch that we couldn't get, because we're being shunned, and horribly and inexplicably, inexplicably sometimes, because sometimes your parents or whomever will drop in and out of your life. That almost makes it worse. So in any case, moving on, we have a list of names here. I'm actually off camera, I was working on the footage, the drone footage that we got from the local Kingdom Hall. So that we were going to put that in our discussion group. If I can't get this on now, we're still working on it. So if we can show it at the end of the show, we will. But we want to move on to, because Chessa is going to move on to her live stream on her platform. And before she goes, I want to see if this will show. I hope this shows, but we're going to read the names, Chessa. Okay.
I think, Sharon, were you going to read the names? Is that right? Or was I reading the names? Okay, cool. Let me come to the website. And if anybody wants to see the list of names,
like that.
No, it's cool. I thought Sharon was, but it's totally fine. If you guys want to see the list of names to read along with us, you can go to www.useourvoice.org/MOM, and that will give you the list of names. Let me pull this up here. The one online is the most accurate because the ones on the brochure, even after I printed that out, there was more people that added in names. And there was also 2 names that were added since we started talking tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and read those as well. All right, so all right. This is in loving memory of Timothy Mannion, Donald James Peacock, Laree Slack, Douglas Ray Carson III, Vivian Medina Kenyon, Donna Lynn Sawyer, Seth Isaac Eckert, Craig Eckert, Kyle Tarrant, Tracy Rempel, Phil Rush, Sarah Trevin Fleming Schwartz, Harold Milliam, Julianne, Yvonne Layton, Panina Risgard, Eileen Sumrall, Daniel, Adrian Knott, Claire Cromus, Melanie Middleton, Joshua Walker, Vladislav Roslikov, Travis Grob, Wyatt Heckler, Janine Jordan, Laura Gracie, Luke Conroy, Zach Harrell, Alan Martin, Kurt Dovanovich, Vienna Isabella Baudry, Eddie Fuller, Rosalie Ope, Elias Titus Lopez, Marilyn Almond, Dwayne Fagan, Mary Jane Pelly, Anthony Akers, Trevor Vargas, Adrian Webb, Carolyn Nielsen, Craig Button, Christopher Sherrill, Ian Huell, Eric Reeder, Madison Horton, Nathaniel Lewis, Randy Follis. Did I miss a? I did miss a line. Juan Martin, Jacob Reams, Wendy Lopez, Omar Madaro, Camille Karen, Steve French, Ronnie Sissy Purdy, Richard Neal, Tamara Jefferson, Ash Redford, Pascal Smeets, Richard Wheelock, Catherine Brackett, Robert Follis, Nathan Savari, Lacey Crawford, Paul Hands, Amy Greer, Danny Tyson, Diane Rutan, Paul Holmes, Sarah Fleming, Stephen Stewart, Bethany Stewart, Dan Stewart, Lauren Stewart, the Millers, Trevor Trevino, Michelle Trevino, Corey Trevino, Marcella Trevino, Sandy Greer, Victoria Clemby, Stephanie Winger, Samuel Ewalt, Daniel Dorsey Dowen, Kelly Scott Jersom, David Dolrun, Taylor Estrada, Darren Dudson, Zach Kozlewski, Rachel Adams, Rick Robinson, Angela Jean Shipperly, Liata Pilar, Debbie Hayhurst, and Cameron Barbary. And then we have 2 more names to add tonight. Those names were, sorry, I lost my place here. Goodness. And I want to add, I did not read tonight the way people had passed away, but if you go on the website, you can see, and half of that list is actually suicide. So I know some people, when they read out the names, they read out the cause of death along with them, but tonight I chose not to do that. But I'm going to read these because they sent it in to me specifically. Susan Marie Westfall died from refusing a blood transfusion at 51 years old in 1994, and Freddie McLean passed away from suicide. So if anybody else would like their names added to the list, please feel free to let me know. And it's just, every time I get a new list, it's overwhelming. But I'm also so glad to be able to honor those people who have passed away, you know, like Sharon and I and PJ, Molly, Emma, we all have people who we have lost from this. But to be able to share in this together, to be able to honor them, to say their names, and to read about the different Watchtower policies that caused them to lose their life is a very sobering thing, but it can also be something that brings us together. And one more thing that I wanted to read before I went, I have this up on the website, and it's also on the brochure, but it's the facts of the Watchtower's policies. And annually, it's estimated 1,200 people die due to Watchtower's no blood policy, aka their blood transfusion ban. And if you want to put that in perspective, if one were to use the Jonestown massacre as an example, their final death count was 909. And then the Watchtower instituted that policy in 1949 with their first death, Samuel Moscariello. The 1,200 does not include deaths involving suicide, substance abuse, or victims of domestic violence due to Watchtower's lesser-known policies, including their two-witness rule, their cultural practice of shunning, lack of resources for people with mental health or substance abuse, and especially they not only discourage people from getting resources, but they also shun them when they're in serious situations like that and don't assist them. And then shunning members that go against their counsel and report abuse, seek therapy, or become involved with an outside program to the point of devastation. So many people, we know so many people who have lost their lives. One of the families on that list was the woman who took her family's lives because her children decided to go to college. She was okay with it, and then they started getting shunned by the congregation. So she murdered all her family members and then took her own life over the mental effects that she suffered from shunning. So if anybody tries to tell you that shunning does not affect you, or it shouldn't affect you that bad, or you should get over it, no, it can affect people to the point of where they mentally detach completely. Watchtower, as we all know, is currently under investigation in several countries for their policies on shunning, child abuse, blood transfusions, and propaganda in their publications. Much of this is still dramatically unfolding as we speak. I had one more thing, I think. No, I think that was it. Sorry. So if you guys go to the website, I'm going to be uploading the different footage from Memorial last year. I haven't done it yet. I'm so sorry. I feel bad to people like PJ and Sharon because, I mean, Sharon, when you read the list of names last year and you really just, you know, when you would read that name and suicide was next to it, you said suicide, you know, very loudly so they could hear you, to give them that kind of impact, because it's important not only to honor the people that have died, but when you recognize the way they passed away, especially if it's something like suicide, to have that many names represented there from that specific kind of death is just astounding. And it's even more of a reason for us all to stick together and to support each other through this. All of us have had difficulties with that. I myself have had difficulties with that. My father had difficulties with that. So the more we support each other through stuff like this, the better off we'll be. And hopefully we will stop adding names to those lists.
And this is why I lit this candle tonight. This is the Watchtower building.
I just wanted to say that I wanted to say that I read those names off at 3 different protests in a row, like week after week. I was in Ohio, then I was in Michigan, and then back in Ohio again. And I think it was on YouTube. A woman, can't think of her first name, dang it. Her last name is Amadon. She just had a little cute baby girl recently. But anyways, she commented, "Oh my God," she said, "you read my mom's name off." So while she's watching you know, the live video on my YouTube channel, which is little known, um, JW Survivors Original on YouTube. Yeah, she was watching it and she was just like, all of a sudden there was her mom's, you know, name being read. So evidently she must have passed it off to you. It was added to the list. She wasn't, I don't think she was expecting to hear someone else at another protest giving her mom the recognition and the love, and the family, the love and support that they so needed. And then one more thing, I wanted to say that we'll have to add another family in there. I'll get the names to you. But in 2012 in Sylvania, Ohio, which is a suburb of Toledo, Ohio, there was a woman named Sandy Ford who was a Jehovah's Witness who had temporary custody of her 3 young grandchildren. The mother got her children back, and the grandmother went to the school with her adult son, who is, I think, in his 30s, which was the uncle. They took the kids out of school illegally. So basically they kidnapped them, took them back to their garage, and gassed all 5, the uncle, the grandmother, the 3 young little children, to death. And that was in 2012. Danielle Davis, one of our activists who actually has been helping to be an administrator for the JW Suicide Facebook group, she tried bringing that to the newspaper's attention, and they just kept silencing her. She would comment under the article, and they kept removing it. So it was pretty much silence, but there was a suicide note talking about the Paradise. Same thing happened with Lauren Stewart.
Well, we will definitely add those names. Like I said, it's so it's so heavy. Sometimes it takes me a day or two, and it's not because I am not trying to be expedient, but sometimes it takes a day or two to process not only that you guys have had this loss, but also that it's another victim of Watchtower policy. So again, I'm just so grateful to you guys.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We are reaching almost 3.5 hours into our stream. Thank you for can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing all your stories. Thank you for trusting us to share your stories on our platform today. And I think we probably should do this again next year. I mean, Chester does this every year. First time for the glass table. And so I wanted to, before we close out, I wanted to remind you guys that Chester is coming on right after. Right, Chester? So
yeah, I'll be on in about an hour from now. So it's going to be 8 o'clock my time, or 9 o'clock my time, and that's Central Time in America.
Okay. So
could I say one more thing?
Sure.
I would like to give props to the Vast Apostate Army, because and Trisha Pharyngea, because like I took breaks in my activism. I've been doing this since 2008, and it gets to you, and you have to take a break once in a while. So while I was taking a break, up pops all this cluster of new activists, and Trisha Pharyngea was one of them. And there was a slew of these people that spoke out against the Watchtower and created the Vast Apostate Army, and they're still at it. And just like any of our activism, we all take blows from each other, get knocked down, whatever. Stand right back up, hold your head high, and be proud of the activists that you are. And they've been going in and doing, lots of people have been going in for years and protesting on against the memorial and against the shunning practices and stuff. But the difference, I think, like Chessa came along and she, really organized and this and created a website for it, started, getting the names together. So we have more of a visual of a visual, and, we can actually hear all of the names. And one last thing, I did run across an article, or it was a letter from the governing body to the elders, and in it they said that if somebody is suicidal, that during a disfellowshipping, to temporarily delay that temporarily, and they didn't say get them help. They said contact the legal department at the governing body. That's the same damn thing that they do for the sex abuse victims. So not only do they have record at a database of these sex abuse victims, they obviously also know the majority, the names, and they have record of all of these people that they have killed.
I just like to say also to what Sharon is saying. My family member of mine actually was suicidal during a judicial committee, and they did suspend it. They tried to. The family tried to give the without giving too much away, tried to give the elders, documentation regarding the mental health background of the person that they were, my family member that they were trying to disfellowship, and they suspended it for a week, reconvened, and in 2 days he was out. So none of it mattered. They even reiterated, they claimed that they were not mental health professionals. And, even with alcoholism, I know like with my or dependency, like my father, he again wasn't offered any help. As a matter of fact, when he reached out for help, uh, secular help, through a rehab, he was told, okay, well, now that you went and got that help, now you can come and get the real help that you need. As if they discounted it, as if, basically you're saying you haven't been to the meetings because you've been hospitalized, but that's not a reason to miss your meetings. Now you can start getting on track. None of that time counted, him calling in to the meetings or anything like that. It was, so they will answer hopefully for, if not in the courts, for hopefully through us and through our activism, if not our generation, it will be the next generation or the generation after that. We're learning our history a little bit more. As a matter of fact, those who have died by blood by suicide, because of suicide and the shunning policies, I was able to get some news articles that we're going to put in our glass. I want to call it the glass room, y'all. The glass table discussion group, and so you guys can look at some of the apostates before us, right around the 2000s. Some of the the activism about the shunning policies, and even some lawsuits by ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were filed by us. So before we go, in the comments, Angela Hardy says, thank you for sharing your stories, everyone. Y'all are so brave. Sending you lots of love and big hugs. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. A lot of you guys have been on with us the entire time. Before we go, we do have STZ. Were you able to get the footage? Can everybody hear STZ?
I'm sorry, I had my mic muted.
There we go.
Yeah, I was able to get some footage. I did have to like trim it down in order to get it to fit to StreamYard. But yeah, I went there. It's almost a surreal feeling. It was empty. It wasn't a line when I pulled up. It was just weird.
Especially for it to be a memorial. Like the memorials around here, people act like it's the Oscars. Like they
Yeah.
line up all around the gate. So let's see what you got. Looks like a slight troll.
A little bit. I had to put a soundtrack to it.
So yeah, as you can see, I guess it was empty. They didn't, at least in Michigan, in my neighborhood, they didn't go to the hall. Now we need to check on what Karen was talking about earlier about them breaking the quarantine somewhere.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
so sorry, guys. I have to head out and put my little one to bed, but I just wanted to say I'm so grateful, and I wish that my dad would have been able to have this kind of support. Maybe it would have saved him if he would have had people to talk to. So many of us leave, and that's the only thing that we have when we isolate is ourselves. And sometimes it's so hard to be alone with yourself. And for my dad, it was really bad. So I'm so glad that we have each other, so we don't have to be alone, and we can share in this with each other, and we all know where each other is coming from. We all know the struggles that we're having, and we can stick together. So if anybody would like to reach out to me, if you would like to reach out to anybody on the glass table, we are here with you. Anybody whose names was read of their loved ones, we are here with you, honoring the people who have passed away. And I'm just so grateful for this community, and I hope that this helps save people in the long run. And Dad, this is for you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. All the people that came on, all the people that stayed with us. I think we lost Emma, so we're dropping like flies here. But thank you so much again for staying on with us. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, guys. See you in an hour.